Yo, Boo, what's going on? Hi, Slater. DSMD, what's going on? I think we're good. Yo, Multi, what's going on? How was your day? Yeah, it's been good, Boot. Yours? Yeah, I'm good, Slater. How are you? Uh, Turn that off and let's watch. I think the games are about to start.
Them could run away with it. Definitely going to be a tough ask for some of these duos to get in and have a good time when there's so many pros around the place. We're going to dive into another interview now, though, and that is with Muzelk. So hopefully he's on the line. Hopefully you can hear us. How you going, Muzelk?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Fantastic. Man, we got some questions for you. We've got some great questions for you as well. Obviously, in relation to some of your buddies in the Click crew, we know that you've played in the Pro-Ams. We know that you played in AO last year, or earlier this year, I should say. And you did outperform Mr. Fresh Asian. He obviously ended up winning the Pro-Am at that event. Is there any kind of beef coming in here?
My day was
Well,
alright,
look,
still can't
I
play
mean,
4. Wait, why not?
Obviously, I've never let Fresh live down the fact that I did outperform him. I remember going into it. I had a bet with Brody, who works with Lannon, over whether or not I could place in the top 75%. And like at the time, I was like, "That's easy. I just got to get like 3 points." And then you're in a tournament, and you're like, "Oh my god." Getting into like the point where placement points start playing, like where placement points start actually paying out, and where like and getting elimination points.
Just eating
against
pizza?
people
What
this
type?
good is actually insanely hard. Like, but yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah, I mean, the only time where Fresh and I have gone up against each other in a proper solos tournament, I am ahead. I don't want to say that I'm one of the best in the region.
The game should start shortly. I'm pretty sure they're in a queue now for it.
I mean, same thing as well. Obviously, I came
What's
into
this?
AO,
It's like a Pro-Am tourney with like 40
AFL
AFL players, a team of like
Is today
40 Fortnite pros.
If I'm seeing a Skybase in the distance, I mean, I don't want you to call it out because people might be able to hear you, but are we going to see some meme strats or are you going to try and take it serious?
Yeah, look, I mean, like, I feel like it wouldn't really. I think ever since the very first Fortnite tournament I ever did was the very, very original Pro-Am. And I remember trying to do the riding a shopping cart down a mountain strategy there. It literally haunts my dreams to this day that I buggered it up. And then I think it was courage. It was courage that shut it down, and I've never forgiven him for it. But look, long story short, there is yet to be a single Fortnite tournament where I don't at least go for something. I think the game plan is a bit of a smorgasbord, you know?
Okay.
Round 1, maybe we play properly. Round 2, maybe we go fishing. Round 3, could be a skybase. We got to vibe it. We got to see how it's going.
Because my keyboard's
But,
still broken, I don't want to play
the
controller. Yeah.
Don't sweat too hard. Honestly, if you're a pro and you see a skybase in a charity tournament and you shoot that down,
doesn't matter.
Can you hear it alright, or does it need to go louder?
Oh, it does happen because they want those points.
Yeah. Well, don't give away too many of your strategies. We wouldn't want that. One thing to touch on, maybe a little bit more of the serious aspect of this tournament. You obviously knew your duo partner a little bit in advance. Have you guys been doing any practice at all?
Yeah, we've been dropping some 30 bombs in the solo squads for the past week or so. It's been pretty aggressive gameplay. No, we've done a few duo games. We were gonna play early today, but unfortunately I had to start the stream a little bit late. But yeah, no, Connor's like I don't know. Pretty much all my experience with Pro-Ams up until this tournament have been, the person I'm playing with basically is like, oh, I played Fortnite once with my son. And like, and I was expecting, this to be some. The first game I got in with Connor, he was cranking,
Louder up.
shooting people. I was like, oh god damn. And then
Have it all the way up
I
there.
got eliminated and looked like a butt. So
Why does she have it all the way up?
No, Connor is he's strong, very strong.
That's good to
That's
hear.
as loud as
Hopefully
it
you guys
goes,
do well,
fuck.
and hopefully we get to have a chat later, which would incidentally also mean you probably did well. So best of luck.
Oh, I mean, obviously, when I, actually win the game by eating fish on top of my sky base, I think that there'll definitely be a need for a post game.
Wait, is there like a
Well, we'll catch up with you later.
All right, sounds good.
See you, mate.
See you out. See you guys.
volume?
Alrighty. Well, seems like Musok's actually coming in pretty
Oh,
confident.
oh,
The
it's on
meme strats
100
ready.
already.
He's got the not meme strats ready.
Yeah.
If the meme strats don't work, he's going to get carried by Connor. That's more or less what I took away from that interview.
That's as loud as it
pretty
goes,
much. I
chat.
mean, yeah, he kind of gave us the full
Yep.
game plan there as well. But again, we got some insights there. So we had Cameron kind of carrying Musalk a little bit in their practice. He's talked about programs in the
I
past.
got my
and quite
PC,
often
it's
they are.
built
They're
and
those players
downloading
that just,
Fortnite, so I'll get
kinda
clips
get
tonight.
thrown
Yeah,
into it and
bet.
have some fun with it. They haven't played before, but some of these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be interested to see how the rest of this pans on out. Look, the way that this normally goes, and the way that I look at a lot of Fortnite events, and now I'm not a Fortnite expert or anything like that, but I tend to kind of keep up with what's going on, and a lot of the time, you go in with
It's not
this
the
sort of
best, but you can still hear it.
preconceived
Yeah,
notions,
good.
think, oh, X or Y,
I
they're
can't
the
turn it
best
any
player in the
louder.
region, they should pick up the victory,
Like, it's
or,
actually all the
well,
way up
maybe
on my PC.
and then that kind of gets blown out of the water. Now, we do only have 3 games, right? So that increases the variability of the results here. If one team just busts out in game 1, picks up 20 eliminations of a victory royale or something like that at the end there, that's going to be enough points potentially to get, I don't know, 2 games worth of points in one game, which is insane. So
Are you doing
I think
anything
we're gonna
after
see something
this?
crazy. I don't
Potentially,
know
yeah.
if
I'm
we're
not
gonna
sure
get
how long this
necessarily
goes for,
the
though.
quote-unquote best team winning. I think it's going to be something a little bit out there.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of Battle Royales, right? They're so fun for that. I mean, there's clips upon clips online of me predicting someone to do poorly or do well, and it's the complete opposite every time. I'm completely cursed with it. But that's the whole fun of going into these tournaments. You never really know. And again, it's a non-competitive format. You've got crash pads, you've got helicopters, you've got so much fun stuff to play with. That's why Charity's so fun, though. No one's a loser today. Everyone's a winner. Everyone ends up better off because of this event. $100,000 is going to go to people who need it, so it's all for fun at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Now, I've got my duo that I'm going to be barracking for.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm from Brisbane. I'm a bit of a Brizzy boy, so I'm
Okay.
a fan.
I wonder how
of
quick
some of the
people
players
die.
from
They'll
Brisbane
probably
Lions
die hell
as well.
quick.
Convenient.
Mr. Fresh Asian in there as well, I think is probably not a bad duo for him.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
in my opinion, that's a team that I'm looking out for. That's one that I'm going to be keen on seeing
Okay.
victory. Now it's your turn to throw your lot in with one of these duos. If you have to be a little bit biased towards one, who's it going to be?
Okay, I think it is probably going to be Volks and Charlie Cameron. I mean, if anyone who follows me, I'm a big fan of Volks. We give each other digs here and there. I want him to do well tonight. He's one of the best players on the board there, and he's paired up with Charlie Cameron. So I had them picked before Mitch told me that he's someone that he's looking out to.
I'm
perform
switching to
well. So, I
KBM.
mean, let's
playing
create some
20
rivalries
Collar.
here.
Well, I get better at
You've got Mitch, I've
KBM.
got
Yeah, it's
Charlie,
fair
they're
enough.
both from the Lions. Let's see. But if I got to back it up with the local, I am also cheering on Eshes and Justin. as
Surely
we
they
represent
start the
Sydney
game,
Swans. We're going
say.
to pull the local cards. I got to go for I'm pretty sure the one Sydney guy on the board.
Yeah, I'm just having a look and seeing whether or not there are any Sydney Swans players. Riley Stoddart looks like he's from Sydney Swans
okay,
as
so we
well,
got
with,
2.
with 4 turtles. So you got a couple of.
Hey, how are you?
potentials
I'm
there
good,
coming
dude.
in.
How are you?
Look, I got to say the Gold Coast Suns as well, pretty close to home for
Yeah.
me. Coming from Brisbane, a day trip down to the Gold Coast. So if any of those players are able to pick
Yeah.
up a dub here, I'm not going to be too disappointed either.
Not bad.
I think there's a few good rosters coming out, and like I
Yeah.
said, it's pretty hard to just go in and say like X or Y is going to win, right? Because we haven't really seen all of these players playing all together. We did get those rehearsals a little bit earlier on in the week, and we got a bit of an idea maybe of who's going to be good, who's going to be a little bit weaker. But realistically, everything changes from scrims, from rehearsals to actual official games, and that's what we're getting into tonight.
Yeah, as well. And you got so many names on the board. So obviously you message Gold Coast there. I look at who they're paired with. Serpent. We've got World Cup players upon World Cup players here. There is at least 5 to 10 people on this playlist from the Fortnite section who have won over $100,000 respectively from earnings. So anyone could run away with this one. It's just going to be that dynamic of, is it going to be the solo pro with just the AFL player on their back, or are we going to see that team game mode come out? We saw in scrims that it was usually the team that came out on top. It was very rarely a solo victory. It was usually the team that managed to survive.
It's so much better on
So,
PC than
let's talk
PS4.
about
Yeah,
strategy
facts.
a little bit here, right? Because this is always something
It's
that's
so
really
bad on
interesting to
PS4.
discuss when it comes to pro-ams. You've got a professional player. You've got an amateur, in most respects an amateur player, which was probably going to be the AFL player in this duo. How do you sort of manage that as a duo, right? Does the AFL player just do the farming, pick up all the loot, pick up the mats and that kind of thing, and drop it over to the pro, and the pro's just like, listen, mate, I got this, follow me, and we'll go to victory?
It's hard as well. So we saw in the scrims changing the weapons around. Obviously, at the moment, if you're a Fortnite fan, you know about the Mythic meta right now. There's Mythic POIs on the map, which have Mythic items. There's only one at each of them. So do you drop there and try and get the Mythic gun and give it to your pro, give them the best chance to win? Or do you land safe so you can farm those materials, get the meds, and make sure that you're both looking healthy coming into endgame? I'm not sure too much. I think the fact that it's regular duos is actually going to change things a lot here. The zones are a lot more predictable so that the best players who have that foresight of what's happening can take advantage of that. that. I would not be surprised to see some of those smarter players coming into today. Like, I got my eyes on Tui. He's a Fortnite pro who's very, very good at leading people. Jump in a helicopter, head straight to center zone and just box up. So it's going to depend on how aggressive those players can be early, how many eliminations they can set off to set the pace. If placement starts to become the main threshold, I think you'll see a lot of that safe play between two duos heading to the center and just going for the win. But I mean, we got people on the board here like Repulse God and stuff who can regularly drop 20 to 30 elims in normal games.
Well, what's also interesting is potentially that aggression early on.
I'm a new
Not
sub.
so
Thanks,
much
dude.
for
Appreciate that.
placement points or for the elimination points, but more so to gain control of your drop
Wait,
locations,
what's
right?
what's
Because
your new
we're in
sub?
a tournament where, yes, there are some professional players, so there probably are some established drop locations. There's also going to be a lot of people coming in here that don't have established drop locations. So do you try to go aggressive? Do you try to really focus down on your drop location, make sure you make that your stronghold in game 1 so that no one else is going to contest you for games 2 and 3?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's going to be interesting. So some of those players coming in here are going to have their drop spots, but we're missing people who, like those mythic POIs in competitive games have their names, right? Like Agency has Worthy and stuff. Anyone who follows OC Fortnite knows that. But I think a lot of these teams that are coming in who don't have maybe as an established of a pro or they're not as confident, they're going to drop the safe spot. So if I have to make any prediction for
I'm
how
gonna
these
switch
games are
over and
gonna
watch it
play
on
out,
Twitch.
I
I'm gonna
actually
be
think
better on
game
there.
1, you're going to see a lot of safe drops. Surprised everyone. I think people probably went into
Twitch
it,
is
oh, yeah,
better
just follow me
quality
around
for
and
some
we'll have
reason.
some fun with it. And then they realize after game
Yeah, it
1,
looks
wait,
so
these
much
are
better.
actually very, very good games. They're very stacked. I need to teach my players how to do it. And we saw some incredible things coming out. I remember one of the main moments was Benji Fishy teaching his two teammates who haven't really played Fortnite that much before how to pull off a perfect nade strat. So there are some very, very complex skills that with the right pro can actually be like translated quite quickly.
Yeah, and I think
Come
a lot of
on,
that as
surely
well
they
is
start the
down
game.
to playing to your strengths as well, right? If you're a player that comes in here and you feel like, okay, I'm a little bit weaker than, obviously I'm not a professional player, right? I need to work around my strengths. If I'm the AFL player in this duo,
I'm new
and
as well. Why is my
maybe a
name
little bit
green
more
and blue?
unfamiliar
Yeah, I'm not
with
sure.
Fortnite compared to my pro buddy, I'm going to be saying, hey mate, listen, literally, you tell me what to do, you tell me where to go, you essentially be the in-game leader and lead me to victory, and inevitably, that should surely work out for us as long as your calls are on point.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, if you follow Fortnite at all, if you're in the OCE scene, you've seen a lot of the whole Mr. Fresh Asian and Laserbeam duo partner going ahead. They've actually been outperforming a lot of pro duos, and I attribute that very heavily to Lannon or Laserbeam. He's not here today, has no real bias towards. He knows where his skills are at. He knows he's not as good as Fresh. He gives him everything. I've seen him to the extent of taking a launch pad to fly away, to distract the enemies, to deliberately get eliminated so that Fresh can get away. If we can see that from some of those AFL players, maybe they'll do better. So possibly Mitch Robinson coming in more confident to help Fresh might not actually work out as well. You never know.
Got to sacrifice yourself for the greater good at times. Anyway, guys, that is our pre-show done and dusted here for AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite. We're going to head to a quick break. Don't go too far, though. Game 1 is kicking off after this.
I'm new as well. Let's go. Welcome, Slater. Come on. How do I have 200 hours if I'm new? Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's a glitch or something. What's your... Oh yeah, I thought you were asking me for a sec. Wait, was that in squads, boot? Squads I was with? Yeah, I remember that too, eh? Yo, Pug, what's going on?
Hey guys, Hannah Scott here from the Bulldogs AFLW. I can't wait for the AFL Gamers Network Stream King tournament on Friday with a massive 100,000 up for grabs for charity. I'll be playing for White Ribbon. It's an amazing organisation that does some really important work to end violence against women. I'll be doing my best to send some cash their way and help these guys out, and I'll see you Friday.
Hey guys, Zach Jones here. Can't wait for this Friday, the AFL Gamers Stream King tournament. There's 100k up for grabs for a charity of my choice. The choice I made is the Starlight Foundation. They do great things for families and kids that are going through a tough time. So make sure you subscribe to.
I swear it was like a couple months ago.
And
Boot.
it's a great opportunity. Hopefully we can get a good win.
G'day guys, Jack Viney here.
Get out of it, Slater.
Can't wait for the AFL Gamers Network Stream King tournament this Friday. There's 100 grand on the line for charity, and I'll be playing for the Victorian Homeless Fund. The VHF are an awesome organisation that are helping people doing it tougher than most, and I'll be doing my best to get the W for these guys.
Hi guys, Jack Silvani here. I'm really looking forward to taking part in the AFL Gamers Network Stream King tournament, which takes place this Friday. There's $100,000 up for grabs, which goes to the winner's charity of choice. I'll be representing Guide Dogs Victoria, who do some terrific work for those dealing with low vision and blindness in our community. They receive minimal government funding, and about 70% of their
Yo, Aaron, what's going on?
is from philanthropic support, and it takes about
Who's your favourite AFL team? I go for Geelong.
to get one guide dog puppy ready to help those dealing with that low vision or blindness. So I know that this money is going to go a long way towards the work that they're doing in our community. So hopefully I can get over the line. So don't forget to tune in on Friday, and hopefully I can get a W.
G'day and welcome back to AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite. We are moments away from getting into game
Adelaide
number
Crows,
1 here. And to
nice.
set the scene on the antics, $100,000 on the line here for charity, $50K for first place. And that's a big prize available for whichever duo does pick up the victory. But first place out of 41 duos, not an easy task.
Yeah, not an easy task at all, especially when you got some people in here. We have 2 people on the board who have a 100% win rate in
Fuck
Pro-Ams,
Geelong.
Lachlan and his teammate, and then we have
Alright,
Grayson
mate, chill.
Mitchell. Right now, coming into it, one of them, if not both of them, are going to walk away ruining their
I
win
actually
streak.
go for
So
them
there's
as
a lot
well.
of
Let's
stories we're
go.
developing, and you think
Good
pro-am, you
shit.
think charity, it is a lot of fun, but these guys are competitive by nature. The athletes and the pro players, they really want to win.
JK.
Pro-am games,
Yeah,
are
it's all
taken
good.
more seriously than actual pro games.
Yeah, now you might be wondering what on earth is going on here. AFL, Fortnite,
I want to know how many games
are.
there are.
You might not be aware, but AFL Gamers Network is now a thing. This is where you can find all the information, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Make sure you jump on there. And that's really what's been enabling this to actually happening. The AFL Stream King, we're going to get to watch all of these.
Yeah, everyone go
We're
sub
gonna
to
watch
the
all
YouTube
of
channel
these
there.
AFL players coming together, having a good night of Fortnite, and putting
Up
something
the
towards charity
Saints,
as well.
Eels,
So
Slayer.
fantastic, and great to have the support here, of course, of AFL, as well as all of the players and content creators as well that are jumping in. Now, you sort of did mention a
Player
little
in
bit there that there's a few
Geelong.
teams that you're kind of looking out for.
Probably
There's a few
like
teams maybe
Joel
that we've
Selwood
seen
and
in the
then
past that have got that
Patrick
100%
Dangerfield.
win rate.
I'd have those 2
Nicholas
even, I
Shane
reckon.
and Lachlan being the 2 operative players for those
And
respective
probably Gary
rosters.
Abel as well.
Let's
I'll chuck
just
him in there too.
pick your brains a little bit. Are you the kind of guy that wants to see like one of those players go through with the 3-pick?
Yeah,
or
Aussie's
would you
pretty
rather
popular now, isn't
both
he?
of their dreams get crushed tonight?
I mean, both their dreams crushed. I mean, they're both great players. They're both good friends of mine, so I feel bad to be like, yeah, I want them to win. But for me, being out of OCE, starting everything that I've created from there, I really like to see those unknown names do well, or names that I know that maybe other people don't. There was nothing as exciting to me as calling out Brezzo as the winner for AFL.
I reckon
Someone
Fresh
I've
and his
watched for a
duo
very
win
long
though.
time that would be considered an
He's with
underdog.
Mitch
So there's quite a lot
Robinson
of
and
underdogs there on the
Mitch
board,
is actually
and I'd
decent
wanna
at the
see them
game.
do well as well. I think the main main thing for me that I want from this is I want to see some of those content creators, especially like we watched in those scrim games. We saw Loser Fruit and her teammate take out the spawn. I want to see that
Bro,
kind of come into
Geelong
it as well. It's not
stole
just
Danger
about the
Field
pro
from
players,
Adelaide. Yeah, I
talking
know
about
that.
the AFL players. There's a lot of content creators who kind of swallow their pride when they come into these games.
He
We
belongs
heard
to
Yusuf
us.
talking there at the start
Well, he
about
used
how much
to.
he struggled in the last pro games he played. I love to see them still giving it their all and giving it their time, knowing that maybe they're not the favorites coming into it, and just have some fun with it.
Yeah, I mean, someone I want to shout out that hasn't really had that much airtime, Sarah Jane, someone that I know from some of the other communities that I'm involved in. Definitely not coming in as a favourite or anything like that. She's going to be playing with Clayton Oliver, who's from Melbourne Football Club. I think we'll keep an eye on them, see how they're going to be able to do. You've also talked, obviously, about Loser Fruit and how she's going to go. Muselk definitely in that discussion as well.
Cockatoo
So a lot
and
of these
Tom
kind of content
Atkins,
creators that are
yeah.
going to come in. Kiki, another
I
one.
like
that,
Cockatoo
I've
as
seen
well,
around the
but he's
Twitch
just
quite
always
a lot,
injured
seems
all
to
the
have
time.
just come back as well. So great to see her back competing in things like this.
But if he
alongside
wasn't
Rich
injured,
Hinge,
he'd be a
another
real good
from
player, I
Brisbane
reckon.
Lions. So there's another one for me to
Jeez.
kind of keep a look at.
Oh my gosh.
There's a few Brisbane Lion players. I think
yeah.
you're a little bit down in the dumps.
Who do you
obviously, with
go
the
for?
Bucks
Yeah,
and these
Geelong.
guys.
I mean, at the same
Up
time
the
as well, I
Cats,
think
yeah,
when I was talking about
facts.
this on stream and I was making jokes, everyone said the same thing. Ozzy, you're from Sydney. Don't try and pretend you know anything about AFL. So I mean,
And we
if
also
Esses and Justin
sold
could bring
Josh
something out here, it would
Jenkins,
be very,
yeah.
very cool to see it.
I don't
But
really rate
again,
him,
there's a lot
but
of those content creators who are just having some fun with it and making their duos come into it as well. But it's still going to be a fun tournament that's going to kind of play in their favor too. We see a lot of big streamers going head to head. And again, thank you so much for putting this event on. It's obviously streamed everywhere. It's so good during these times to still have these events and bring them together.
Code? What do you
I was
mean by
actually checking
code?
out the AFL Gamers Network socials when I was doing some research, and it was
He's always
so cool
injured,
to
it
even, I'm
sucks,
just sitting
yeah,
there watching,
facts.
and I'm hearing fans talk with their favorite players while watching a game that they love. Like, it's just so great during this time to still have that interaction and still be able to bring people together like sports do and esports.
Well, I think that's one of the cool things about a game like Fortnite and about streaming in general is that normally professional athletes in particular are very, very difficult to reach for the general public, right? If I were to go and say, hey, I want to go and talk to a professional AFL player, how am I really going to do that as an individual?
Mate,
I'm
Tim
not
Kelly
really
was
going to be
good, but
able to
West
unless
Coast
I have a
stole him,
connection, I know
yeah.
someone or something like that.
Tim Kelly's a
This kind of
gun.
opens up a world now where fans can
We
kind
got
of
some good
interact
draft
with
picks in
their
that for him
favourite
though,
players,
so
and like you say, in that kind of environment where they
hopefully
might
those
be
players
a
will be
little bit
good.
more comfortable doing so. Because even then, you know, talking to a professional player like that, I can tell you, you go up to them in person, it's sometimes a little bit daunting, right? Because you're this larger than life figure, right, that you're meeting. But if it's you know, just on a stream, they're playing some Fortnite, it's very relatable. That's the cool thing for particularly for the kids, you know, that kind of up and coming, that are potentially looking to get into AFL or looking to get into a professional Fortnite. It's kind of a balancing act, and to see maybe some of their heroes doing that thing which they love at the same time as being able to interact with them, I think is kind of fantastic.
Yeah, so I saw Mitch Robinson.
What's
he
this?
talked
It's
earlier
like a
today about how he
pro-am
got back
where
into
40
Fortnite, started
AFL
practicing
pros
some
are playing
squad games.
with
I started doing
40
some squad
Fortnite
fills with
pros
random
in
people
a
we
duo
got. We
20.
knew who he was, having some games, having some fun. It's pretty incredible.
Imagine if I
think
hacked
these
the
AFL
stream.
players as well normally get a little bit
Imagine
stunned when
he's
they
hacked
talk
the
to these
AFL stream.
other people they're playing with, some of them being 14, 15. They've won hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they have this ridiculously incredible skill at one aspect. I think they're quite impressed as well. So it's usually a great way to form those relationships. I've done events like this in the past, and I've just made long-term friends from it. They are really great to see go on.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things as well that we really haven't touched on is that there has in the past been a bit of a stigma around gaming and that kind of thing where people think, you know, it's not that cool, it's very antisocial in a way. But
Should
I
be a
think
bit
what you
louder,
get
please,
now
now.
that a lot of the more mainstream aspects of society are kind of getting a look into Fortnite.
What
and into
team do
other
you go
games,
for? I go for
people are
Geelong.
starting to really open their eyes up to what good it can do in the community, and we're kind of seeing that tonight as well here for AFL Stream King. Like we've already mentioned, a lot of that interaction between the professional players and the AFL players, but not only that, you
The
know, just people
code?
getting
Wait, what do you
involved,
mean by the
having a good
code?
conversation.
What
You and
code?
I wouldn't have been having this conversation, right? We never would have met as people had it not been for this exact event. So it's that kind
Tom
of thing
Hawkins
that sort
is
of
my
opens up
favourite
doors
Geelong
just
player because I
for,
used
yeah,
to
not
think
only,
he was
you know,
good
those kids
looking.
that are
Yes,
playing in their
I am a
bedrooms,
boy.
but, it's
What the
also just
fuck?
great for everyone
I
involved.
doubted.
Yeah, as well. So same thing.
I'm
as
gonna
well. A lot of
pretend
the
I
players
didn't
coming in
read
here
that.
today as well. It's cross-platform. We have some of these pro players. Like I remember I was talking on stream. And they're like, "Oh, so wait, these AFL players are
Oh
all
my
playing from home, so they've all
God.
got to go out and buy Xboxes and PlayStations and PCs."
I'm
It's like,
watching
no, they
someone
actually
who's sitting
have
in the
this skill already.
queue
They
ready to
enjoy
play
doing
this.
it.
I
They've
think
been
they've been
getting
in the
involved
queue
in
for like
it and playing with
25
each other.
minutes
I
waiting
know
for them to
I
start the
reached out to
game.
Mitch being like, who am I looking for to do well today? And he just rattled off an entire list of AFL players that he knows plays, who have beef, who have interactions, who actually are coming into this with a lot on the line to prove just to each
Like,
other
what
to
a
have some
joke.
fun,
Just
right?
start the
Like
game.
most of these athletes, when they put themselves into these kind of situations, they want to do well. They're naturally competitive. Same goes with the players, but quite often in these events, we've seen these players from Fortnite especially come out and prove that I'm a 15-year-old kid. I play video games essentially for a living for this money, but still, I go to school. I still play sports. Again, I know these AFL guys. They're my heroes as well. Like, it's really, really cool to see.
Yeah, fantastic to see, and of course that's something that we're going to be keeping an eye on throughout today.
Does you
Now, you
still play
already
on
alluded
Xbox?
to the
Yeah, he
fact that
does.
some of these players from AFL might be a little bit impressed with what the professional players are going to be able to do as individuals in the game. You feel like they're going to be a little bit shocked, a little bit stunned coming in, because it's not going to be an easy thing to pick up, right? Some of these guys, yes, we know have played a little bit of Fortnite in the past, but I know as a gamer, even as a gamer that's been playing for 10 years, 15 years, I don't know how old I am these days, probably longer than that, right? But to go from even like traditional
Yeah, I did
games
say that.
into
It's
Fortnite
like
has been a big
20
jump for
second
me.
delay.
Because
Do you
there's
still
so
remember
many
that?
mechanics, so I can really only imagine what it's going to be like for someone that doesn't play as many games as I do and has a professional career as an athlete where they're probably dedicating half of their lives, more than half of their lives to it, to then jump into a game like Fortnite. It's going to be a difficult, tall order.
Yeah, it is. It's
Is
going
the
to be quite
sound level
hard for them
now?
as well, but that's
Is
the
it
whole
better
fun of it when
now
you
that
know
I
there's
turned it
only
up,
really
or
money on
'cause
for
I can
charity.
still turn it
Everyone
up
wins
more
at
if
the
you
end of
want?
the day, so they're going to jump into it, and that's where I'm looking at those pro players who are maybe better at communicating, just have those natural skills to kind of get
Yo,
the idea
Connor,
across
what's
of
going
what's
on?
happening and what they're going to do going forward. So that is where I think also those content creators might have that advantage. We just talked about, obviously, when it comes to gaming, kind of breaking that stigma of not being antisocial. Some of these content creators, like, they have millions and millions of fans. Like, we're talking Lachlan has 13 million subscribers on YouTube, so he knows how to communicate and build those relationships. That skill set's going to be invaluable today. Picking up someone you haven't played with before, you haven't really met, instantly breaking that barrier. We're teammates now. We're go into it, communicate, all those skills that come through with it. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, let's talk about that from the perspective of someone like Mr. Fresh Asian, right? You've already mentioned that he's a two-time Pro-Am victor. He's been able to come into, in particular, AO 2020, bring in that trio,
Can we
make
get
them
some?
into like
No,
a
you
God squad,
cannot.
essentially. So it seems like, at least for him, you know, that sort of skill set is there, and how well he's going to match with
If you want to listen to that, I'm sure you can find some places to go listen to it.
Yeah, it is always that factor as well, and that's what's crazy about people like Mr. Fresh Asian. You hear about him. I talk about how he's raised $50,000 for charities in different tournaments. He's amassed millions of followers on YouTube. He streams every single day. He's just turned 18 recently.
Yeah,
So, you know what I mean? Like, these are young people, but the skill set that he's developed to put
When will the
himself in that
20 start?
position
What time
goes
is it for
against
you?
everything you'd imagine from natural,
I
like,
think
video
it'll start
game,
at
right? Again, sitting
7:30,
in your
which is
bedroom
4
playing
minutes
games all day,
away.
not talking to anyone. He's just blown that out of the water right now. He's amassed a massive following. He's shown how good his social skills are. He's developed absolute.
You'd think
ridiculous
Rugby
friend group
League
when it
would
comes
have
to the Click
a
guys.
collab
They
before
have a bit of
AFL.
banter. Obviously, Muselk and Fresh, they had their bets, but they're all really good friends at the end of the
Unlucky,
day. And yeah,
I
I think
guess.
that skill set's going to kind of pass over into today. I mean, they've got that advantage of having played together before, but we'll see how that plays.
Yeah, I think
Maybe the
touching on
NRL
Mr.
will
Fresh
get
Asian
one
is a
soon, who
great one
knows?
as well. Just as an individual, right? I remember back in the day, like before he really blew up. You know, when he only just got picked up by RNG, that was when he sort of came onto my radar as someone that isn't quite as invested into Fortnite as someone like you, for example, right? But he had, you know, like maybe like 15,000 subs or something like that at the time, and now it's just like you look at it, and every day it's like it's another 15,000.
Oh, it's ridiculous. He's taken it to a whole new level as well now. So he's brought out some merch and stuff now as well. He did a live DJ set on Twitch as well as part of Luminosity. Like, it's a whole ridiculous amount of skill sets. Fresh is someone who is, I think it's crazy when we talk about, obviously, like, role models and looking up to these athletes and stuff now. Kids look up to these people, right? They're looking up to an 18-year-old, but he's achieved so many things already in his
They
life.
must be
It's
having like
quite
technical
ridiculous that
problems or
really
something. You think
only,
they
I
would
feel
start
like
the game
esports
by
is
now?
as an industry could blow up this quickly, but also Fortnite as a game. Like, the opportunities it's created for these people is incredible.
Well, it's crazy, this industry, right? Not only esports, but just gaming in general. The fact that it is still like a burgeoning industry, right? You can kind of get in from that ground level and build yourself up. In no other industry, really, can you just come in as someone with no skills and have a computer and mess around and make it work. But either way, enough discussion, Aussie Antiques, as we head into match number 1. This is the AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite, and it's got
finally missed you. They're getting into it
on the line for a charity. The winning duo will be getting to choose where $50,000 of that goes. We dive into the battle bus and jump into game number 1. It's X2 twins Jordan and Speedy who are going to be leading us out of that battle bus.
One interesting note here as well, as someone who has been following this, Jordan is going straight to his usual drops. So this is where Jordan drops in
versus
competitive
in
solos.
LG, yeah,
it's where
he
he
is.
drops in competitive duos. Obviously, his brother, Jesse, normally lands in a different spot very close by.
It
so
delays
it's
2
interesting
minutes.
that
It's like
Jordan's going
25
there again,
seconds.
Still sticking to their game plan. We see Mitch Robinson and Fresh. We talked about them. We saw Mitch Robinson say earlier that everyone knows where Fresh goes. If you're new to following Fortnite, you maybe don't know where Fresh always goes. He goes Pleasant Park. And exactly as I predicted, the two biggest POIs on the board are both uncontested. Shark and Grotto. So everyone has assumed that there's going to be a lot of people going Shark for that infinite grappler, and no one has gone there. This is the kind of thing that Game 2 and 3 are going to be so different because of.
Well, that's the thing now, whether or not anyone's even going to recognize that. You know, do they look back at the replay
Lazy stack.
after Game 1 and see where everyone's dropped? And do
Repulse,
they recognize
Parby,
that, or
Brezzo.
does anyone not really pick up on that? We do see 4 Turtle down early and actually eliminated by Ashes. So already not a great start for a couple of these duos.
Yes,
Yeah, I
see
said
Repulse God. I
no.
just talked about Shark being uncontested and Jordan going to his
Fresh
drop.
is winning
Repulse
probably.
God,
Yeah,
very,
it's because he's
very
with
well known
Mitch.
in
Mitch
the
is actually
OC
decent.
community for having Shark pretty much on lockdown in solos and duos. So scary that almost no one contested, but he gives it up today. We see Jinx taking down Muselk in the feed, so maybe the Stream Dream team, meme team, is not going to go through today, but not going down. No surprise there. Jinx, phenomenal player, someone on the board to look out for. We have Jennifer pushing forward. Papi taking elimination on Westy. Westy focuses on trying Jennifer, and then we have Papi taking them down. So Papi maybe getting the revive here on his teammate, and a very big elimination for him as Westy is one of the pros. Repulse God coming up here. Papi versus Repulse God. This is going to be a very big engagement as far as pros go. Papi being a World Cup qualifier. Repulse God having an incredible performance. Oh my gosh, no! Papi takes down Repulse. That is a huge upset for the tournament. Papi, an absolute god in his own right, but Repulse God going down with only 72 people
Shark,
still alive.
yeah,
I would never have predicted.
I was going to say, I thought that wasn't looking too good for Papi. He had no builds available. Repulse God was the one that was able to dictate when that engagement happened, and yet Papi still manages to come in clutch. But what is dangerous here is earnings check. We know that's Brezzo. He's been lurking around. He's heard that engagement. He's heard those shots, and he's thinking, well, now I know that there's another duo here, and I probably know who it is as well, based if I'm watching the action feed, if I'm seeing Papi get that elimination. I know
he choked, yeah,
he
literally did.
Need to be wary. But right now, Papi should have no information that earnings check is here, so this is potentially very dangerous for Papi and trying Jennifer.
Yeah, so I mean, they
both have no shield either.
2v2 right now, both
They're so
players
cooked.
still alive. We tune back in over to Salty Springs now, where Trapped has taken an elimination on Yep. And then we have your boy Dossie and Sink Fishy. Sink, being the pro in this duo, is very low now. So this is going to be an interesting fight here. Trapped probably going to be able to close this one out. Sink only has bandages. Teammates gone down. Trapped now confirms the elimination. But Trapped doesn't actually have a shotgun. So a little bit of a loadout disadvantage. But definitely the health and med advantage. Also having the materials. Can't seem to spot where Sink is. So maybe doesn't know Sink's behind the builds. He's trying to take this peek. No, Trapped definitely knows now. Pushing forward. Had a very good performance at AO. And he's going to try and maybe confirm it here. And he does. SMG is all he needs to take down Sink.
That's my point exactly.
Salty Springs going over to Trapped and his teammate, your boy Dossie, as we move back over to Slurpee.
I don't even know who any of these people
that
are.
kind of range is still going to shred. Sarah Jane, someone I talked about in the pre-show, a content creator who isn't necessarily native to Fortnite, so we'll see how she's
shoot him, what are you doing?
Against Toasted Shoes, bamboozled a little bit by the Christmas trees. That's a build on up here, but
this is not arena.
What she's doing, so give her the benefit of the doubt here.
Nah, it's not arena. It's like this would be a custom lobby just for them.
Clay's going to help out there.
I think that'd still be getting siphoned. I haven't really taken
Need to be worried. There's actually kind of like a content creator battle going on here. We see Bordy pushing in as well. Someone who has not been native to playing Fortnite
this
as
like
much.
the biggest bot fight
I've gone up against her in the Showdown Under, and she did smoke me. So I can't insult her too much here, but not known to be playing Fortnite only. More of a variety stream, but here she is trying to put in some damage down. We have Jamie hanging out in the swamps, a little bit distant. So it's kind of a shambles fight when there's 5 people very close together. Slurpee, one of those
control player, yeah, facts.
A lot of people as its guaranteed shield. It's just on the edge of the map. Sarah Jane getting beamed up here by King Butters. Has a good loadout. The Toasted Shoes has the confirmed elimination. Good shots coming out. Sarah Jane going down. Clay sitting in the back hiding. So we have 2 knocks, which means these are 2 players from different duos. They're not actually together. And Clay's in the background here, not really sure what to do. Just going to farm the way out. See if Clay can maybe put out some damage here. But you have to think King Butters and Bordy with the 2v1v1 advantage now in this fight.
I will say I'm a big fan of Clay's name. It's actually Clayton Oliver. So you see the Clay 10. I like that. A little bit of something going on there. He's from the
Trapped is my
favourite club. We'll see what he can do to clutch this out.
One of the only ones
Has been
alive.
spotted out by Bordy. The shots don't quite connect for Clayton. And unfortunately, that'll be the end of Clayton and Sarah Jane. Bordy.
He killed me yesterday, actually, in round 2 of the
King
bloody Castro.
Butters. Good start for them.
Yeah, Bordy and Butters putting themselves on the board.
Some of these usernames are hilarious. Yeah, I know.
Out in regular duos, not the arena setting, so no siphon here, so extra shield is massive. Butters then confirming the elimination on Jamie too. And here it is, the helicopter. I just talked about the fact that this is the regular game mode. Helicopters are in there, so one of the biggest forms of mobility in the current Fortnite isn't in competitive. It's only in regular game modes, so they have it at their disposal here. So Cow up on the high ground with the helicopter.
They could just fly right at max height. No one will even be able to like see.
And we tune in with Chances, who's gone for the fishing strat, trying to get some of those better meds. And here we have King Butters and Bordy still in the action.
I
Toasted
need to
Shoes
take
coming in
notice
to
if
back
there's
it
any
up.
siphon
There's no
or
way
not.
they're about to knock out 2 full duos in this fight. I think they are. Toasted Shoes is brought incredibly low and then taken
there's
out.
not.
Here we see Bordy. She is completely comfortable doing it. Knees up. She's rugged up. Obviously, with current circumstances, all these players are playing from home for safety reasons, so she's just comfortable and fragging out.
Looking happy there as well. A big grin on their face. You know, 3 eliminations so far for Bordy. Game 1 going phenomenally. Butters has got 1 elimination, so that's 4 points already on the board for this squad, regardless of where they place. Not a bad start at all, and you love to see it. You know, this is the comfort of what you're able to do when you're playing an e-sport, I suppose, as opposed to a professional sport. You know, sometimes it's a lot more difficult out there on the football field as compared to in your bedroom. You've got your blanket or your rug or whatever it may be. And you're feeling pretty comfortable chilling out.
Like, what is that
Another helicopter
username?
though. This one for
The trap
Radius
just
and
killed.
Jack
Like, what is
Sausage.
that?
And we saw a little bit of helicopter action in the rehearsals.
Yeah.
It seems to be relatively good in terms of getting into sort of the mid to late stages of the game. But once we do see that circle start to shrink, people are going to start focusing fire in towards that heli, and that's where you do start to think, okay, they're going to have to drop out of that. They're going to have to do something with that soon.
Yeah, and the same thing as well. We're talking competitive strategies. This being regular
Slippery
game mode,
sniff
the zones are
9,
going to
like,
close
what
in
is
very
that?
predictably. But at the same time, that's not always an advantage. Getting to center zone is not always a good thing. It's where you're going to see fights like this break down because everyone else wants to be in the center. Sometimes being on the edge of zone, especially the dead
grenades,
side where
that's
the
so
least
annoying.
amount of players are in, you can rotate in. Jarlan looking like a solo here, trying to clean this one up. But you've got Trapped, Radius, and Jarlan, 3 of the best pros in the game who have also been here from the very
C4,
beginning. And
yikes.
Trapped going down to the C4 by the looks of it, which is pretty massive because, again, that is a lot more powerful than the regular game mode. We got 2 players who can carry it, and Bordy's still hanging out at Slurpee, but that's a big elimination. We saw Trapped win Salty.
Sucks that this
doesn't
is
get
like
too
normal
far away,
duos.
pushes towards Agency and gets taken out by Radius.
Yeah, Bordy might be running into not only 1, but potentially 2 duos here. Laser and Nick Blakey fairly shortly going to be crossing this bridge, and Bordy at the moment seems like she's got no idea. King Butters is there as well to provide the information, and hey, look, there's some decent builds coming out from King Butters there. That's actually not as easy as it looks.
Yeah, double ramp walls, that's pretty solid here as well, and going up against Code Laser,
These
which
usernames
is
are 10
Dylan,
out of 10
who's
here,
Brezo's
back
teammate,
row.
obviously performed very well at AO. Dylan is a very good player in his own right. Explain the name a little bit there. Had a little bit of an impression farm on Twitter. Tried to post it. Hey, whoever gets the most likes on this tweet is going to be able to be my name change.
Yep.
Laserbeam obviously came through big with that one.
That's
and
right.
since Dylan has had that name, he has also won a cash cup. So Laserbeam got to, for the first time, say that Code Laser is on top in a competitive Fortnite setting. We have Chances here. Chances going for the real slow and steady route with this one. Has 7 fish, probably one of the strongest items to have in the inventory, especially in these games. A lot of meds, and it looks like he's kind of maybe got his teammate on his back foot. Let's go. He's got the strategy. They're going for it. It's working. They're playing very well together. Very good materials and 2 launch pads. So Chances going for that slow and steady strat. We haven't had eyes on Fresh yet up in Pleasant Park. They had that uncontested, so I have to think that they're healthy. Tyrax hiding in the bush gets some really nice shots on Twisty, which is the Fortnite
That
play in
guy's
this
so dead.
combination. So if Tyrax can take down Twisty, it's going to be pretty easy beams on Jack. Jack
Wait, did
rotating
that guy
in,
even build?
not able to throw off the builds, trying to.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
gosh, Crash Pad comes out. Tyrax adapting to the meta very quickly. Uses
Rip.
the Crash Pad, takes down Jack with style. Still
That's
has
not
5
Laserbeam?
of those in the
Nah,
back
it's,
pocket. Has
wait,
such a
who
good
is it? It's
loadout.
Bres-
Tyrax, someone
Dylan,
who's known
isn't
for
it?
being a very, very
I
good
think so,
team
yeah.
game mode player. Hasn't found as much purchase in solos, but a very, very good pro to watch out for.
He just said
Definitely
it, but
a
I
good
can't
pick up
remember
there
who
as
he
well. A
said.
few shields available for him. We'll jump back over to Parpy and trying Jennifer. Tyrax actually does finish off Twisty 3 in the meanwhile as well. So that's a solo wipe for a duo that he's been able to manage.
Not bad, I
Don't
guess.
think
Still
it
56
doesn't look like
alive.
he's actually got his teammate in this
Hopefully
game right now. So
stacked in game.
Tyrax is playing as a solo. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he's got a fantastic setup. He's got a fair amount of shields, a fair amount of survivability and sustainability, importantly, later into the game as well. Cleanser is going to push on forward here as well, right on top of King Butters and Bordy. And I wonder if this will finally be the undoing for Bordy and Zach Butters.
Dylan? Yeah.
She's right underneath it. She's got the big
I
pop
thought
going
so.
off, but again, we see the cams here. Thank you for the spectator team bringing us awesome perspectives, but looking pretty calm right now. The edit comes
oh
out,
my
maybe
God.
should be less calm, takes it down. King Butters
Shit
have
on.
to try and see if we can see some of the skill coming out. You said the builds came out pretty solidly, but against Tyrax, this is going to be very hard. It's quite often easy to tell in these games who is the professional player to look out for. Tyrax is now here. I think this would be a
Dylan's
3-way fight,
controller,
right? These
yeah.
are all solo players. None
If
of
that's
these are
what
duos.
you're
King Butters goes
asking.
down. Tyrax
Slater.
maybe looking to pick up another elimination. If they can take down Earth Cleanser, that's going to be 4 on the board for
I wonder who
Tyrax.
Earth
He's
Cleanser
sitting low,
is.
not sure, but he might have played this one
6.
differently. Ooh, Earth Cleanser coming out with nice builds with double edit from Tyrax. He's about to go
Hey.
6
Oh
on the
my God.
board. It's hard though in these fights. They have to very quickly figure out who the pro
Surely
is.
that's a
Mitch Robinson
launchpad
in the
glitch.
interview
Like,
at the
there's
start
no way
talked
that guy
about that
has
skill set,
5
being able to
launchpads. Or
identify
maybe
who
he
the
does.
strong player is in these duos and take them down. Tyrax now getting a lot of eliminations, but the center,
Oh.
Jordan, the first action we've seen here from the brothers, Jordan and Kyle Dung's having to get out of the helicopter. I'm guessing based on the health that with all those players on the board, they didn't like the helicopter. They took some shots at it.
Yeah, Kyle Dung's looking okay there. He's got 3 med kits. So
This
he'll
is
be,
bullying, yeah.
quite happy to just heal back on up.
It actually
in
is,
towards
eh?
the center of the circle. You do see another bit of a congregation
I
of
like
players.
this
Now, it
strat
looks a
though,
little bit
just
strange
chill
on
in the
minimap there,
helicopter
but
at max
Zach Jones
height.
up in the helicopter, they'll be happy. It's Fresh
Ooh,
right
Fresh
now
versus
up against
Luda.
Luta, and Luda has the high ground, but being challenged by Mitch Robinson. Good tags coming in.
Mitch
Luda
is actually
has
good
lost
as
the
well.
shield. Meatball 38, the teammate here for Luda. Not sure where they are. They're not putting in too much help at the moment, are they?
Yeah, no, Luda
Oh,
on the
get
high
up
ground right
there.
now. One of the best players in the region, came top 5 at AO as a solo. Phenomenal player, but right now he's going into Fresh and Mitch Robinson. Again, we see the builds here from Mitch Robinson. Very, very solid player. Again, an AFL athlete, but he knows what he's doing when it comes to Fortnite. He's trying to get up there to see if he can help out Fresh.
Oh my God,
trying to
he's
get the S
failing
right now.
so
Meatball's
hard.
on the wall. He's going to try and break his way through. He's going to try and take down Meatball. AFL player on AFL player. Does Mitch Robinson pick up his first elim?
Oh,
No,
he just
goes
botted
down
so
here.
hard. There's no way he
Huge
lost
upset.
that.
Mitch Robinson going down. No, he's upset. You saw it in the camera in the bottom left.
There's
He's
actually
not
no
happy.
way.
Meatball being able to back up Luda here better than Mitch Robinson can. This could be it. This could be our favorite. I maybe managed to curse what has to be the most favorite duo here. Fresh against Luda. This is a difficult fight right now. Fresh has got his hands full against Luda. If he knew this was Luda, he would be very, very worried right now. 127 health. They're both very similar when it comes to loadout and effective health. The high ground.
Oh.
Fresh gets a beautiful
Oh.
high ground
Oh
shot.
my God,
Another
Fresh
shot
is
on Luda.
shitting
Fresh
me.
might be able to do this. Literally 1 health left for Luda. Gets the flopper off now.
Get in there,
Fresh
bro.
needs to try and get in this one if he can. He might be going down
off the
to try
res,
and
is he?
break this out. Luda's chasing him from behind. This is a big fight for the tournament. Another good shot.
He still
This
has
just shows
builds.
that
What's going
even
on?
in these charity pro-ams, you get some incredibly good and exciting engagements.
Yeah, Fresh does just have to take a minute here to pop some shields. Ideally, 2 on the shield. Does have a few minis available, so he's going to pop those up to
He
50.
choked, yeah, he
Luda
choked so hard, eh?
He's going to back away from this engagement. They know that
They're
the
gonna
Storm is
break
starting
him
to push
out.
in here, so inevitably Fresh is going to have to move. It's Darren Mitchington, who is from Hawthorn Hawks, by the way, but is Meatball 38, helping out quite nicely. Tips that engagement in their favour. Gets the elimination onto Mitch Robinson, and that frees up Luda to really focus on that one-on-one.
Yeah,
against
there's no
Fresh, who
way
now
Mitch
decides
lost
he wants
that.
to just rotate out of this one, and flies away.
Yeah, that's very unlucky. I mean, right there, Mitch Robinson going down, huge upset. He had the health advantage. He maybe got a bit aggressive. We might see that playing in here. Mitch Robinson knowing, again, we've talked him up. He's heard it probably watching the cast. He knows that he's the favorite coming in here. He's the most experienced Fortnite player for AFL. Got a little bit cocky there. He pushed in, he pushed straight into the barrel, and he went down. So Fresh there in the inventory had so many launch pads, such a good loadout. They had uncontested Pleasant. We see Jordan in there in the bottom left. This is the twin setup. If you haven't watched their stream, again, pretty easy to figure out. Literally twin brothers. They are pro players. They've been playing together since the start of Fortnite. Now they're going head to head, literally, as you can see on the screen, head to head. And worth noting here, Jordan, even though he saw that Shark, maybe he saw Shark was uncontested because he has the grappler and he has Sky's AR, has a phenomenal loadout, but a lot of damage coming out. Kyle Dunk going down. This is the issue I talked about when you go towards center zone. There's a lot of players. Esh is on top of them now. A very, very good pro player trying to put in with the aggression. Esh is known to be very aggressive, trying to chase down Jordan, but Jordan does have that infinite grappler. It is the only one in the entire game right now, the only one on the map.
So much
he
for
has
Mitch
superior
being a
mobility,
decent
and he has the
player.
ultimate loadout.
I mean,
to now close
he's
this
probably
out
the
as a
best out of the
solo,
AFL
because Kyle
players.
has
He
gone
literally
down.
choked that
Insane
so hard.
mobility indeed, and he's got a lot of builds available to him as
Thanks
well.
for showing. Yeah, it's all good.
Damage coming up onto J-Mac there from Best W Kia ever.
This is Carry On, by the way, as well. Change his name. I always recommend you guys, if you're a Fortnite player, if
Yeah,
you're a
imagine,
content
Aaron.
creator, keep your name the same. It's your branding.
Yeah.
This is Carry On, though. A very scary player to look out for here. Duoed with Volks. Another person I was looking out for on the board. So Rory Atkinson's and carry On right here. Look at the launch pads too, though. I think it's a bit of a visual glitch. They
Oh,
shouldn't have
no.
that many, but
Yeah, yeah.
still quite a few, though. That means they at least have one.
The
though.
nade strat.
Oh, incredible nades. Luda straight over the bills. The nades coming through. He's now trying to find his way through. If he can try and get some damage out here, gets the finish, the confirmed elim. That's only 2 on the board for them so far, though.
Doesn't have much in his inventory here, Luda, so I'd say he's probably looking for some mats, which he's going to be able to pick up. Goes straight up to 99 build, so that's a nice little boost. But the shields, the meds, that kind of stuff is what he's going to be looking for later on in this game. And at the moment, doesn't have
It's pretty
anything
crap there's
like
no
that
sight.
to play with. We do head into the middle stages, I'd say now, of the match. And for now, we're starting to see equilibrium start to come into effect, where everyone's like, okay, let's just slow things down a little bit. Let's try not to take too many engagements. And this is where you really know that the stronger, more solid duos are actually getting into the game. So now you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe we can't pick up any free points. Maybe there aren't going to be any pushovers or anything like that. And we do need to start playing this one a little bit smart and avoiding some of those engagements.
Yeah, and we see in the top left, Rosie. So that is obviously Connor Rosie, which is Musel's teammate. We saw Musel go down at the very start, but he's still alive. So showing again that he's a solid player worth to look out for. He has survived this whole time by himself without Musel. So he's making his way through now. A lot of people sent it up. You see Mao in the bottom by himself. We see Tyrax. We see Fresh as a solo. So quite a lot of duos left on the board, though, and they're all very close together. In the left, I'm looking there for Jinx. They've got that airdrop in the open. Are they going to push for it? Is Jinx going to hold it? That is a guaranteed launch pad. Don't know if Jinx does have one, but mobility right now, not too
Wonder how the
necessary
pros
when
will
the
use the
zone is so
C4. Yeah,
predictable.
everyone's going
It
to
drops
pick up
down, and Jinx
C4
has
and
the boom bow,
nades.
so he's stuck to his regular rig
If they find
drop.
it, for
He's been
sure.
dropping the rig for the whole of Duo's FNCS competitive, which took him to the dub, so he's comfortable there. He knows it works, and obviously it's working here
So
today.
glad they bloody nerfed the
Throwing a
stack
few
size
shots
on
off in the
that for
direction of
C4 in
Sanka and
Arena.
ZC and
in tourneys.
R1. It's a tough name to pronounce.
Because it was too OP just being able to chuck
Set
3
up
on
next to
someone.
him right now. Some
3
of these pro
damage.
players, again, I like it. Some of the AFL players gone with their real names, helping us out a lot. We're doing our best here to make sure. We got to remember charities, names, teams. We're doing our best out here. Jinx is now just kind of set up. They're on the edge zone. These zones are going to be very predictable now. They're going to keep closing in towards the center, being the regular game mode. So a lot of these players are moving straight for that. Going to be interesting to see if anyone kind of finds those edges to rotate in more safely.
Oh,
Jinx ends
because
up
it's
getting
pubs,
it,
there's
gets
going to
more
be
crash
no
pads if he
moving
wants
zones
to. It's
either.
very, very good mobility. Fun to see what happens with those. They're such a fun item that you don't normally see in a competitive setting.
So they've
which
probably got to heal
is
off
their
every
perfect
game.
mobility. That's all we're seeing right now. Is there's really heightened mobility by playing the regular game mode, and a lot of these teams using it. We have 20 teams alive in the top left and 33 players. That is a very good lobby for a pro-am.
Yeah, certainly not too bad at all, and you can see how congested it really is starting to get. This is where things in Fortnite start to get a little bit crazy, right? Early on in the game, there's a lot of real estate, there's a lot of space for everyone to take.
It was so
But
hard
now,
in
once that
squads,
circle
arena,
starts to shift
yeah,
in,
fact.
look at how close all of these duos are to one another.
Yeah, Fresh picking up an elimination on Chrysler right now. So even though they're a solo, they can have good sidelines and good eliminations here if they need them. Fresh getting the double elimination by himself. He's not going down, not swinging today. He wants that hat trick. He wants the triple pro-am back-to-back. They said they were going to come out slow. I kind of want to see them go more aggressive, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
I know they're the team that can do it.
Maybe, you know, when we talk about, oh, Fresh is so good at teaching his teammates, helping the guys out, maybe it's not so much that. Maybe it's literally that he just hard carries them as an individual.
Is
as a
trios
solo.
coming out next
I think,
season?
like I touched on earlier playing with Laserbeam, I think
Will
that's
it be
exactly
either
the strategy they've
trios
gone
or
for, and it
squads?
has been working for them. Fresh is an absolute beast, especially in
Because
these
we've had
lobbies that
solos
are a
this
little bit
season,
less stacked. I mean,
duos
this is pretty
this
damn
season,
stacked
so
for a
yeah.
pro-am, but it's
Only
those
leaves
lobbies
4
and
options,
players
doesn't
that
it?
a little bit weaker. Fresh plays in pub matches 10 hours a day, every single day. He knows how to verse players a little bit less experienced.
I did see they were
I'm
running
excited
a
to see how he
squad
goes up
testing
against
then,
people
some
like
of those,
Luda,
so
though,
maybe
who
it
he
could be
had on the
squads,
back
who
foot. He
knows,
had
yeah.
him down to literally 1 health, and they both managed to disengage. Players like Eshes here, stacking 8 of those nades, not seen in competitive Fortnite for a very long time.
Like, what sort of
Obviously,
name
back
is that?
into pubs so they can be used here today. They're going to be setting up for those 65-meter strats. If you don't follow Fortnite or know what that means, if nades will explode at 65 meters, so you'll see players with those nades trying to set up at exactly 65 meters because there's almost no
The
counter
zone's
play.
just going
They're
to keep
gonna
closing
explode
towards
on
the
your
middle.
head,
It's
and
going
you're
to go
going
to
to go
heal.
down whether you can outbuild it or not.
Yeah, this is Sanka on your screen right now. Nice little stream room setup. Love
Very
to see it. I know you're a fan of that kind of stuff as well.
Like nice lighting. I mean, I've always said before, I like the lights to distract from my face cam quite often. So yes, we've got a beautiful lighting and stream setup here. Not so beautiful setup as far as the loadout goes, though. Only has 3 items, doesn't have any meds, and only 49 builds. So they need to pick up something very soon.
Certainly do.
Trio
Tyrax has set
FNCS
himself up
squad
with a
cash
really
cups.
nice sort of build, a little bit
Yeah,
of
I'd
a
actually
there
be
in the
down
middle
for
of the
that, eh?
lake. There's a helicopter as well, you know, so what's not to love about what's going on right now? I'm sure if you're Papi, maybe the fact that you don't have a teammate, looks like trying Jennifer has gone down earlier on in the piece, which is unfortunate. That's Maddie Shevlin, by the way. We've got some AFL women's players as well in this lobby, so that's cool to see. And Ernie Sheck alongside Mr. 45.
Want trios? Yeah, I don't really
That's
mind.
Brezzo, of course, and someone that we saw being able to pick up a win in one of the rehearsal matches that we had earlier on in this week. Tyler Brown, the teammate there, is Mr. 45869 from Collingwood Magpies. J-Max just been eliminated by Fresh, who continues to pick up some points. So it seems whether or not Mitch Robinson is available in the game, it really isn't going to matter as far as Fresh is concerned.
Yeah, big elimination. Takes down Esh's teammate there from the Sydney Swans. Like I said, there's not many Sydney representatives on the board, and unfortunately one's gone down, but BLS Cow picking up 2 eliminations there. And then we have Brezzo taking another elimination on Speedy. So that's a pro-on-pro action there. It's going to start breaking out.
Yeah, it's just
now,
going to be
but then
whoever
Jesse
has the most
next to
heals.
Fishy
at the
takes
end
down
wins.
Speedy as well. So we're going to have to see how this one plays out. It's getting very congested now. So in your top left, what you're looking for there is 19 is how many teams are alive. 27 is how many players. So you do have quite a few solos in here in the midst of things as well, not just all duos. And they're going to start pushing closer and closer as we get this really nice bird's eye view to see where they are. Radius and Jinx looking like they're in the best position, nice and central. But it's all going to be about who can take high ground. You have a maximum of 3,000 materials in this mode.
Where do you
Anyone who
find
still
this
has
stream?
materials who
On
can take
Twitch,
that
you
high
go
ground, it's gonna be
to
massive.
just write in
Fresh now
AFL.
still playing as solo, has eyes on Jinx, his trio partner.
Or on
They
YouTube,
performed
write in
insanely well
AFL
trios
Gamers
and
Network
squads.
and it'll come
Maybe
up as
like a
well.
little bit of payback here, maybe a little bit of damage. That'd be very awesome. And then Jinx takes the high ground. I talked earlier about him being...
Oh!
Gets knocked down from Jinx. Oh! Jinx
Oh
gets
my
knocked down
God.
from Fresh by the heavy snipe. Fresh causing some serious issues here. Jinx would have had the high ground. I was about to talk on how good Jinx is as a duo player, winning duo FNCS and showing that prowess here. But no, Fresh cuts me off, and now he's going to make his rotate, showing how good he is as a solo player.
Not in a bad position either. Fairly good rotation into the circle for Fresh.
Tilted Town, Zombie Retail was too OP. Greasy Grove was retarded. Yeah, true.
To retain control of the high ground alongside Jet Peach.
Yeah,
They're
buddy.
going to be feeling
Taco
pretty
time.
happy about
That was
that.
so
We actually
weird.
saw that as well in some of the matches that we saw at AO, right? Jinx very much the high ground player. And so for Jack from the West Coast Eagles, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that second name. It's a little bit too tough for me. I'm going to read it in the halftime
Fresh
break.
though. Fresh going
Fresh
on
is
the 1v1
so
against
good,
Jinx. This will be
holy.
massive right now. Fresh showing how good he is. Can he take down Jinx? He pushes him off the high ground. Fresh going a bit aggressive. I want to see him just hold the high ground here. He has 107 materials. Doesn't need this elim, but maybe he's going for it. Knows he needs to get some elims on the board to catch back up with Mitch going down. But again,
Yeah,
like,
this
I
is
don't wanna
literally
make
about
this
to
the
be who
Fresh
has
show,
the
but
most
somehow
skills.
as a solo player, he is now taking height off a duo. Jetpatch holding his walls. Fresh can't take them. That is very well played for an AFL player. He knew how to defensively just sit there and hold.
Yep.
But Fresh as a solo player, it does takes him down.
Yeah, he's
which means
dead.
Jinx now has to play this one out solo, and Fresh has managed to take high ground as a solo on 7th zone with 19 teams alive. That is massive. He's looking to see if he can find his way into Jinx with that heavy snipe, obviously being able to instantly break a wall and just get in there and deal some damage. Or if you hit the snipe, takes down Zed Connor. Oh my gosh, Fresh is putting on a clinic of why he is the favorite today, even if Mitch Robinson's not by his side.
That was Connor Glass that goes down to Fresh. He's the teammate of Sanka. Jack Petroselli is the teammate Jetpatch of Jinx. So already Fresh now, you know, just preying on those AFL players. He's not able to deal with the pros, but has no problem dispatching of the AFL players. Some edits come out here, trying to put that damage into Jinx. Continues
Fresh wants him.
to have an engagement, but it's not going to be too big of a deal for the moment. Both teams are going to be quite happy to disengage for the moment.
Yeah, at the same time, I want to see Fresh go a little bit more passive here, because what you're going to see, I almost guarantee this is going to go to a heal off. So you're seeing this zone slowly close in. We're already at the 8th of 9th zones. That means on this next 28 seconds, it's going to just close out. All these players are going to hold on. Fresh has the high ground. If no one pressures him, he has 4 fish in his inventory. That's 4 floppers. That is 200 effective health. So if this goes to a heal off, I have to say,
Do
out
you
of everyone,
copyright it
maybe
for this?
Kansas
I
though.
don't think so.
We saw that Kansas had 7 fish earlier. If he hasn't had to use them, Fresh, Jordan taking the high ground though with the grappler.
I haven't got
talked
it
about how good
monetized,
that
so-
mobility is, takes the high ground off Fresh, and now Fresh has to play more of a defensive game. But honestly, he has this game at least the top 2 in the bag if he doesn't go aggressive. But Fresh, known for it, puts on a show. I don't think he could play passive if you told him his life depended on it.
Well, Jordan also not too eager on playing passive at the moment, is keeping his eyes on Fresh. He's got an RPG in that back pocket, so great item to have when you're on the high ground.
Yeah, this is going to a heal up. Look at all these players, and this zone is just closing out now. Like, it's going to end. So in 55 seconds, you see that counter in the bottom right. The game is going to end. Fresh's game might end a little bit sooner, though, but he takes the high ground back off Jordan.
Imagine if
He has to use
Cupid
his
did get
grappler, but he needs to be careful. Jordan keeps
missed
going
the
for it.
fight.
Fresh
Yeah,
has only
imagine.
37 builds left. Jordan and Fresh, obviously ex-teammates from RNG, the original biggest squad in the region. Obviously, Twins and Fresh both
People on
seen
Twitch watch
massive
other
success
people's
since they
streams all the
split.
time,
And now
yeah.
John's got the high ground now. Can he find this angle down onto Fresh? Has the rocket in hand, only has 1 rocket for it. This is going to go to heal off here, and I think Fresh being forced down could actually be for his benefit. He's giving it up. If he can get into a box, he's going to close this out. Jordan, for example, to just have the comparison, has no meds in his inventory. I have to call this one as being Fresh or Chanzas. I think Chanzas still has
I know a
those
few
fish.
other people
And
that
Fresh
are
going very,
doing
very
parties
low
of it as
here.
well, so.
Hasn't been eliminated just yet. He's actually picked himself up another
And I'm not
elimination,
making any
but
money
Fresh,
out of it or
like
anything,
you say,
so.
he's going to just have to commit to
But
the
I'm
heal
not
up here. So
monetizing
is
it, so.
Alec. He's got a med kit but the fish is going to be maybe a little bit better in this kind of a situation. We'll see how it turns out. We'll know in a moment. There's 6
Every
players
game's
still
legit
alive.
gonna
I
be
think
like
he
this.
mistimed this. I think Alex got the make it off a little bit too low. John going down. Here we go. Is Fresh got the fish? Here it is. It's coming down to the fish heel off. Chances, I see him in the corner. I knew we had those 7 fish early. I think Chances knew that he needed these fish at the start. Alec can't get another med kit off. Trying to break into the wall to take down Cow. He goes down here. Cow gets the siphon from that limb. Chances has 3 fish left. Maybe for the first time in my career, I preemptively called the winner, and I was
But Twitch, you
actually
can do that.
correct.
YouTube, you
Chances,
can't. I should be
absolute
chilling though,
genius,
so I haven't
knew
got
that
it
this was going to
monetized.
go to a heel off before the game even started. Prioritize the fish, and here it is. He's got 1 to go. The smile on his face. I think he knows he's got it, but no, Cow has the health advantage. The smile instantly
dead.
turns into regret. He doesn't realize somehow Cow had more meds. Cow even knew. You could see he thought he had it in the bag, but Cow still had 1
Oh my
fish
God.
and the bandage cannon. He knew he was going to
was
pull this
stacked.
off. I have to think, BLS Cow must be Colt. Is this Colt or Serpent? It's one of the blessed players, or is it Tui? It might actually be Tui.
Yeah,
Please tell
maybe
me he did
Hazard.
not change his name, so I can't give him the clout he deserves. It's a blessed player either way. I'm going to guess, based on the intelligence of that play, I want to go on a limb and say it's Tui. I mentioned earlier in the cast that he could be one of those players that just, he knows
I'm
the
not even
strats.
sure how many games they're
It's
playing.
Alex, the young genius, my gosh.
Yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. I actually feel like he might have gotten an elimination very late into that engagement, that he was able to pick something up. You talked about a couple of players having some meds in their back pocket. 2 bandage cannons as well.
Yeah.
Not something that you're probably running around with the entire game.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, whatever it was, Alex proving that he had the game sense there to predict. We talked about metas, right? To predict this would go to heal
Yeah,
off
false
before the
hopes
first
that you'd
game
want
even
to be a
happened
party
to
as
come up
well.
with the win. But when you go for those
YouTube.
heal offs, the issue is eliminations are worth 1 each. If you get 10 elims, that is worth the same as the victory royale and all the placement points. So the heal off gets in the win, but how many elims did the other teams have? That's the issue.
If I'm not mistaken, Cal or Alex, whatever we want to go
He's
with,
stacked,
here,
yeah.
was one of the
Facts.
players that was running around in a helicopter early on as well.
Yes, he was. He was in the helicopter early. We saw him in the practice games as well. So maybe playing those practice games, he saw this is regular duos. This
It
might
takes
actually
2
just go to a straight
slots.
closeout zone.
That is
and
true.
the strategy is there. The reason why I say young prodigy, Alex is one of the youngest pros in OCE. So to come up with that strategy, not just to have that raw mechanics, but to have the game knowledge and the foresight is incredible.
Yeah, Zach Jones, I believe, is the teammate of Alex as well. So he's going to be happy with things. We saw that strategy, like you say, in the rehearsals. They do seem to have come in with a very
Now, hopefully they
preconceived
don't
idea
wait
of
like
what they
20
wanna be
minutes
doing,
between
how
games
they
or
want to
some
be
shit.
strategizing and working their way through these games of
Snoopy's also doing a review
AFL
on
Stream
Party,
King
yeah.
featuring Fortnite. And look, to be honest,
As long
I
as you
think
don't
that's a
monetize
great
them,
idea,
I think
right?
you're
You,
chilling.
you have a bit of practice time with your partner. You make sure
And
you're
I
both on the
unlist
same
it when I'm
page.
finished
It's
anyway,
worked out
so
here.
I'll
Does
be
come
all
down
good.
to a fairly high stakes finish there where, look, it really could have gone either way depending on how some of those meds ended up turning on out. But look, the way that they've come in and the way that they've played has been consistent so far across rehearsals, across the official game so far. And I got to say, it's working out for them.
Yeah, it's great to see that obviously them taking those rehearsals seriously, getting in some time to play together, you have to think it had an advantage to this, whether it was in the game knowledge of knowing how the game would play out, or just that kind of combination of being able to play the same strategy together. We look back on this massive elimination, Papi taking down Repulse. The thing that's very scary for this lobby right now is the fact that Papi took down Repulse, which means that he's going to pick up the speed. That is someone you don't want to have a bad first game for the rest of the lobby, because he's going to go big or go home now. I guarantee he drops Shark next game, he gets that grappler, he tells his AFL partner, sorry mate, I need a frag in this.
Yo,
and he full
Jan,
sends
what's
it.
going
That's
on?
just what I'm predicting to see
Or
next.
Jan?
Yeah, definitely something that I'm keen
Jan,
on seeing
rather,
as well,
not
because these
Jan.
high stakes engagements are really, really fun to watch. I don't know if you caught how many eliminations Alex was able to get in there. Zach Jones
It's
as
not a
well.
visual glitch.
I
He
don't
had
know that
one
it was
bandy
a
cannon,
huge
yeah.
amount, right? We didn't get to see a lot of camera time from them in the lead up to
That's
that
a rip,
late circle.
28 to
So
the head.
I have to imagine it might have actually ended up being actually kind of quite a low scoring victory for them in the end.
Yeah, and you talked about obviously that loadout being quite interesting, but when you've got a duos loadout, I think they just adapted to that playstyle. I'm going to guess Zach was probably holding on to a lot of those meds for Alex until the very end, so he could have the firepower.
Right.
And then before he went down, he hands it over. Here's the banish cannon, here's the med kit, here's the floppers. Because yeah, like you said, I don't think Alex played that whole game with only a shotgun and no other guns. Maybe he did, but either way, very, very smart play there.
Bordy and King Butters actually one of the surprisingly strong duos that I thought wouldn't really be able to get too much done here. King Butters, you know, for me, obviously.
Yeah, I think that was
these
just a
AFL
visual
players,
glitch.
I
He
don't
only
really
had one,
necessarily
'cause
expect
he
too
had-
much from them
Yeah.
coming into
Well, he had
Fortnite.
med kits,
I'd imagine the
floppers, and then a
majority of the
gun.
time they're probably
So he
not
would have
playing
had
as
one
much
bandy
Fortnite
cannon.
as the professional players and even the content creators to an extent. So to be able to see
Mitch
them
literally
coming in and
choked
kind of
that so
competing
hard.
as they did is pretty damn impressive. Mitch Robinson very, very unhappy getting knocked down there like that. But look, 2 more games to play and plenty of time still to bounce back. But realistically, I say plenty of time, and in reality, it is only 2 games, right? So to have a poorer finish, not ideal. Luckily, Fresh is still able to go through into the late game, still able to get some placement points.
I
on
wish
the
these
board.
were like
He got
arena games.
5 or
It'd be
6
so much better.
eliminations while we were watching that as well. So I don't think you go out of that first game as Mitch Robinson and Fresh and
Yo,
feel
Kurt, what's
really
going
too
on?
disappointed at all.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it could have been better, but it's not like you're out of this race.
Yeah, it shows how strong Fresh is as a player, that he was able to go on and put it down so much damage and do what he did as a solo. He took high ground.
Yep.
He effectively ruined Jigs' strategy in their play. He then made Jordan go for the high ground. So even though he may have not got a ridiculous amount of points, the amount of pressure we see there, Chance's smile, I can't think, but that's the funniest thing. Chance has had the smile on his face being like, I've got all the fish. Wait a second, I'm out of fish. And there was literally a bigger fish. Alex had everything he needed. He still had the bandage cannon and the flopper.
He was going strong.
He had it for sure. He won that one 100%.
He was in there for another 30, 40 seconds even, okay. I love like the reaction. It's like at that point, that was when he knew. He was like, oh. And then you see like a bit of a, I can't say exactly what he said, but I think it was a what?
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
It looked like a what?
Yeah, he's surprised because same thing. You would have thought you're the genius, right? Yeah, I came in with a heel strat. I predicted it, but no, Alex predicted it too.
Yeah, definitely a rough one in the end there for him. But look, second place, still not a bad result there at all. You've beaten out a lot of professional Fortnite players as well. So that's, you give yourself a pat on the back for that one. It's definitely the start that you need to keep yourself in the discussion. But the real critical thing here, 3 matches only for that charity tournament. $100,000 on the line, 50K for first place. And you need to be able to keep that consistency up because 3 games is not a lot. If you struggle in even one, you're just not going to have that time, that ability to be able to come back from a deficit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And going for that heal-off strategy where these games might go to, it's one of the more dangerous strategies to rely on. If people start going aggressive like Repulse got, it's going to be a lot harder for Alex to set up for that. I saw in that beautiful aerial shot that Alex was set up center zone early. He knew his strategy. He's got to get there now. He's got to get through all those aggressive players who are like, look, we've got 2 games to go.
They started
queuing
or
These
what?
players can go back into the replay files. They can see where people are and are not dropping. No one went Shark. Jordan went back and got Sky's AR and then got the Grappler. So if a player now drops there, like Repulse, maybe we see someone go Grotto and get that very powerful Brutus minigun, it's going to change things up a lot. I don't think it's going to keep going to
Yeah, they're in
heal
a
off if
queue
people have
for
their
the
way.
next
All right,
game
we've got
now.
an interview with our first winner, Aussie Antics. Let's go ahead and jump into a chat here with Alex, who I assume can hear us.
Yeah. So,
Awesome, great to hear from you, mate. Interesting strategy that you came into that with. We saw you in the helicopter for quite a while. Was that something that you had sort of pre-planned going into this event?
Yeah, true, Aaron. Eh?
yeah. I was talking to Zach about we should just stay in the helicopter the whole game.
Definitely. So, like, are you the kind of guy that's calling the shots? Are you saying this is what we're doing, this is where we're going?
Yeah.
I mean, I have to apologize there, Alex. Obviously, I didn't realize you changed your name. I saw the Blessed on the board. I thought maybe it was too because of how smart it was with the strategy. So did you fully predict this was going to go to heal off, or did you just happen to have the inventory for it at the end?
I predicted it before the game.
Oh, look at you go. Okay,
Awesome.
all right, nice. And obviously going in from duos, obviously you known as the fragger. So just changing the whole playstyle completely. Do you think this next one's going to go to heal off, or do you think because with the 3-game format, people are going to go more aggressive? I mean, I care about your opinion. You just predicted the game before anyone else.
I reckon it's gonna go the heal game again the next round.
Okay.
I'm not sure how the 3rd game's gonna go, but I'm pretty sure the 2nd game will go heal game.
Okay, sweet.
All right, sweet. Well, we don't want to give away too many strategies, but are you kind of going into game 2 with much the same idea of what you went into game 1 with?
Yeah, probably.
All right. Well, we'll see how it turns out for you. Best of luck then.
Thank you, Alex.
Alrighty, cool. Well, great to hear from him, and bit of a big brain gameplay coming
Yeah,
out as well.
seriously.
It seems like he knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Zach Jones. It's quite funny, right, when you're thinking about these young kids, and then there's a professional sports athlete that's getting
Shut
like,
up, I'm going to tell you what to do. This is what we're doing. I know what's going to happen, and they just got to sit back and go with it.
You're like getting ordered around
Yeah,
by
yeah.
this guy, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? It's a total role reversal. But hey, that's the beauty of a game like Fortnite. And looking forward to getting into game number 2. We'll see whether or not they can put it back to back. A few teams, though, that missed out, a little bit of disappointment, I guess, for some of the professional players to start off game 1, not be able to get into even the placements in some instances. So I think we're going to see a lot of those duos sort of bouncing back here in game 2. It's going to probably be, like you say, that passive kind of a game style in game 1.
Yeah.
We saw a few engagements early, to be fair, but going into game 2 and particularly into game 3, that's where we're going to see teams getting really aggressive. Maybe even start hot dropping, right? If it comes down to that in game 3, you need to pick up a bunch of points early on in the piece. Maybe that's something you're going to have to go for.
Yeah, get your hands on one of those mythic guns. Obviously, with it being central zones, agency is going to be a little bit safer. But yeah, I'm going to see. I think Shark is going to go from having no teams to 2 teams on it. But
Yeah, there'll
it's
definitely
hard
be
to
people
know,
with
but
Shark
there's
and
going to be
Grotto
some
this
very
time.
aggressive teams to come out. So
There's
I'm
no
looking
one
for
there
players
last
like
game.
Repulse. I'm looking for players like Esches. They're the ones who are going to start dropping some serious limbs. The Twins as well. But there's quite some big names on there. I want to see how Lachlan and Musel go this game. I feel like that was a game without the real big content creators. We saw Musel go down early.
Yeah.
Don't really know what happened to Lockie, but again, Musel's teammate did phenomenally well. We didn't catch him on the end there, but he made it straight to 5th zone by himself. That is seriously no short task.
That's Connor Rosie from Port Adelaide. So they sort of talked about that a little bit when we had a chat with Muselk. He sort of said, like, Connor seems to know what he's got going on here. And that's the really interesting thing about this for me. Like, that's one of the storylines or the journeys that I want to go on over the course of these next 2 games, is to kind of find out which of those AFL players do kind of dabble a little bit in Fortnite. Because granted, there's going to be a few that maybe have never really picked up Fortnite in their life, and this is one of their first times playing. But there are definitely going to be those guys that, you know, in their downtime, they're going to be looking to do something to relax, and Fortnite is a great escape from something
I
like
think they wait too
professional
long
sport.
between games.
Definitely. And we saw Mitch Robinson. That's where, like, maybe that pressure, he went in super aggressive in that fight. He had 175 health. His opponent, I actually forgot who it was. I feel bad. Didn't catch name on that one. Had about 30 health, and it came toe-to-toe, and Mitch Robinson lost it. So that overconfidence maybe is what cost him, and I don't think he's going to make that same mistake twice, but I don't want to see him become completely rattled. I want to see him still go for those eliminations and know that he is the big dog there. He is the alpha when it comes to the Fortnite players, but he's got a lot to prove. He can't go down to another AFL player twice. They're definitely going to make fun of him.
Absolutely, and that is something that we're going to be looking forward to in game number 2. For now, it is time to head to a quick break. Don't go too far, though. Game 2 of AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite up after this.
Let's go. Yeah, it takes too long between games. Yeah, facts. Thanks for the sub, dude. Appreciate it. I'm having Milo cereal for dinner. How sad. I'll rate it. Why not? Yeah, it has no picture. Yeah, rip. My mum doesn't cook dinner and doesn't let me cook anything. It's not good, boot. Wait, is Mitch Games playing with someone as well? I didn't know that. That's sad, yeah, facts. Yo, AMR, what's going on? Welcome.
It's the AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite. Welcome back on in. We are having a great Friday night here. It's myself, Elvish Guy, alongside Aussie Antics. and we've seen one game so far of this charity tournament, and so far things are a little bit interesting. Maybe not what we expected.
I didn't know
Yeah,
Sean
no,
was
I
Aussie's
thought
real
maybe
name.
with it being in that regular game
There
mode,
you
it
go.
might go to a heel off. Like I started calling towards the end, but Alex, knowing about it in ahead of time before the game even started, went in with that strategy. So yeah, it's kind of shaking things up. We talked about, you know, that team that's going to jump out and grab a whole bunch of limbs and put the points on the board, but it was the opposite. It's the guy who's going to sit there and just heal it.
Yeah, there was a few individuals that were kind of going with that playstyle, playing quite aggressively.
monetized yet?
in the big
Yeah.
stages of the game, kind of feeding on some of the maybe lesser teams.
I don't
some of the weaker
monetize live
opponents, the
streams
content
anymore,
creators,
though.
The AFL players that haven't played
Only
too
videos.
much Fortnite and being able to pick up some points as a result of that. But I think if you're going to win today, you really do need to be focusing on getting those 10 points out of the Victory Royale, on top of some eliminations as well. I don't know what you're looking at, but maybe something like 15, 16 kind of points out of a game is probably a good point to aim for. And if you can do that
Chef
maybe even
Owen will cook
twice,
pasta.
2 out of 3 times, that's probably enough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's
when
better-
top four,
it's-
obviously,
that's
that
better
sounds
than
pretty crazy to
cereal
have to try and get
for
like, you know,
dinner.
10 plus points a game, but that is what it's looking like.
Yeah.
You saw even Bordy's team, that was just off spawn at Slurpee. They had 6 points on the board because of eliminations alone. So when you can drop that, and that's a content creator
They
team,
literally do
it
take
is
way
really
too long
is about
between
finding those
games,
teams
so.
that maybe aren't as experienced. So we'll have to see. That's why Fortnite is so great, the Battle Royale. Anyone can win it on the day. It can come down to it. I'm looking for a little bit of those, I mean, as someone in the OCE pro scene, I love nothing more than seeing a content creator or an athlete take down a pro. That's what I'm kind of waiting for. I know Jordan maybe wants some payback on Mitch Robinson for AO earlier this year, but outside of the result of the whole tournament, there's so much cool stuff that can still happen.
Yeah, definitely one of the ideal rivalries in my mind is someone that you've already mentioned there is Jordan, obviously with his twin Jesse. They obviously play together. It's a great stream. I think it's a great sort of point of difference that they have over a lot of other content creators as well. Obviously, they're pros as well. I should just point that out.
Yeah.
But the fact that they've been duoed up with 2 brothers as well.
It was
They've
meant
got
to be
Josh,
done by 9.
Dunkley and Kyle Dunkley, who are from the Western
Yeah,
Bulldogs
what this
and,
way? I don't
the
think it's going to be
Melbourne
done by 9.
Demons, respectively. I think that's just so cool. The fact that, you know, you've got brother against brother, and in a sense, like, I guess you couldn't say teammate against teammate, right? Because these guys play
But
on
that's where
different
they
AFL clubs.
wait like
So
20
they'd be used
minutes
to
between
competing. But for the
games.
X2 twins, maybe a bit of something different.
Yeah, they're teammates as well. And I mean, I saw the graphic just then. If you hadn't told me, I would have probably said the Dunkley brothers are twins too. I know
Yeah.
one's a little bit older than the other, but it just looked like one had a beard and one didn't. But yeah, with the twins as well. And they've got a lot to prove. I love the twins, but at the same time, there's always that comparison, right? Jesse won the first AO. He took 100 grand home there in the solos, but then Jordan qualified for Worlds when Jesse didn't. And then all team game modes there together. So you don't often get these either solo events or events where they're head to head. Right now, it's not a solo event, it's a team game mode, but they're for once not on the same team.
Yeah, it's very weird, isn't it? You know,
That's why it's
you-
only
you see
3
one go up,
matches?
the
Yeah,
other
it
go
is 3
down, and then
matches.
vice versa. And ideally, they want to meet in the middle. And I suppose both go up.
Yeah.
Either way, what we're going to see going up on the screen
Wish I had a
shortly
pro
is gonna
twin,
be
yeah,
the
imagine.
match standings from that last game. So this is where we get our first insight as to who's been performing well. And what do you know? It's not even Alex and Zach Jones
Yeah.
who won the game. It is Mitch Robinson and Mr. Fresh Asian. Though I will have to say,
Wow, I don't even know
I
how the
really will
score
have to say, I think
works.
it was just Mr. Fresh Asian, but it was leading from the front. So Mitch, if you're listening to this one, mate, come on, pick up.
He has all of them. It is. It was 6 elimination points, and then he had 7 placement points, which means he made it into the top 5. So again, it is. Like you said, it's those placement points with a few more limbs. We have
So
Zach
limbs
Jones
are
and
1
Alex there at
point,
11, and then we have
gather
Jinx,
from
who
that.
also tried to go for that high ground. So Fresh shaking things up. Him pushing Jinx down and getting that elimination on Jack is what pushed them the difference. But look at that. Top 6 to first is 3 points in it. That is next to nothing. And we have all those big names we talked about.
They won't be done by
Parker,
9
Brezza.
our time.
We switch
though,
over to the
so.
next page. We see Jesse is the first one on there. It's still anyone's competition at this point, but pressure's on those guys now in the 0. At least putting a single point on the board would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And for some of them, you know, you got to feel a little bit hard done by, right? For Sarah Jane and Connor Rossi, I remember they actually were able to get a knock, but they weren't able to finish off the elimination, which means, you know, you don't get the point out of it. So chances there that weren't really taken advantage of. You've noticed something here on the bottom of the standings as well.
I don't think Repulse God has ever seen his name on the bottom of a leaderboard, so pressure's on him. I mean, it's not going to take long for him to jump off there. Like I said, this is a scary spot for the lobby to be in because this is Repulse's
The win is
back
10.
against the wall, and you do
Yeah.
not want his back against the wall because he already goes forward so aggressively.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess that is going to be something that we'll keep an eye on going into Game 2, which we're about to head into fairly shortly. And, man, it's a crazy, crazy storyline, isn't it? You talk about how close the top end of
Go
things
Mitch
are.
Games.
First to 6th, 7th, kind of.
Yeah,
There's only
Mitch
a few
is
points
the GOAT.
difference. And that's the danger of a tournament format like this, where you've only got those 3 games. Even if you go back-to-back, if you have good Game 1, good Game 2, you totally bomb out in Game 3. Let's say your lead is maybe 6, 7.
Yeah.
Let's give you 10 points to lead.
Yeah.
You come into Game 3, get 0 points out of that. very good chance a team can pick up
Let's
10
go, new
points and
game.
overtake you
Yeah,
in that
time.
third and final game in the 11th hour. But we're not quite there yet. We're into match number 2, which is not quite the halfway point, although it will be once we get halfway through this match, and we're going to get to see how things turn on out. After this one, though, we'll get a very good idea of who are our front
Shall we
runners
start
going
box
to be
fights
heading
up?
into
No, I'll be
match
watching
number
this.
3. This is the
I'm just
AFL
chilling
Stream
watching
King
this tonight.
featuring Fortnite with $100,000
I'll probably do that
the
tomorrow
line
night.
for the charity of choice of these pros and AFL players, and we'll see how they go here into game number 2.
Yeah, it's looking like an interesting bus too, because it's going straight through the middle of the map. So it's going from west
Be
to
interested to
east.
see
It
who
looks
goes
like
Shark and
pretty much any
Grotto
drop
this
spot
time.
is on order then, and it's going to go straight past. I want to see, so the drop spots you're looking for right now, I'm thinking where the most of the tournament is going to happen now is going to be on that northwest part of the map. So we're going to see, is Mitch Robinson and Fresh still going to go back to Pleasant? Are they going to have it? And is someone going to go Shark? We have all
This
the
is cool.
cams here. This is a very cool perspective. I mean, I can see Muselk, I see Lufu straight away, we saw Mitch, we saw Bordy looking comfortable as well. I see Kiki, we got Chances, we got the twins, everyone's there. I see Bumper, we got Sanko.
Oh.
Man, this is such a cool perspective.
Kiki's just smashed her mic. I don't know if that's going to come out on stream. I'm sure there's a few people that are going to be laughing at that. Either way, we're going to see Jordan and Kyle Dunk back into
Oh, I want to
the
see who
same
went
drop
Shark in
location
there.
as what we saw in game number 1. So nothing changing too crazily for these
I love
boys.
these cinematic
Hopefully
shots.
we
Yeah,
can
they're
get
actually
some more
clean.
points, though, on the board, I'm sure, because game 1, like, it wasn't terrible, wasn't amazing, nothing too special, and plenty more opportunities to get a little bit higher up on that leaderboard.
Yeah, it gives us that idea of that area on the map. So we're looking around here to see whether Mitch and Fresh got their Pleasant Park uncontested again. And did Repulse God go for Pleasant Park like I predicted? Here we go. We got the streamer team here. This is Lufu. Shelby's got such a beautiful setup going on there as well. We got this. We're looking at Orchard. So going an interesting drop. Has it uncontested. So pretty safe drop. We
Why
saw
the
the
hell's
practice
his
games went
name
salty, but now going a little bit more
Advanced D?
passive.
Advanced Deer is Jack Viney, by the way, for anyone that's an AFL fan.
Does anyone know who Loserfruit's teammate is?
Fan of
It's
that
Jack
mustache.
Viney.
That's a great look. You know, I reckon you and I could actually have rocked that.
He plays for
honestly.
Melbourne.
I don't know. That's a pretty solid handlebar moustache. I feel like I go all right. I actually grew all my facial hair out to shave it off for charity as well. But I don't know. That's full commit to the handlebars.
Yeah, I grew it myself one time as well, and I did think I looked fantastic with a handlebar mustache. If I do say
Everyone
so
thinks
myself.
they look fantastic. Do other people think they look fantastic though?
All I'm going to say for Jack is if he is watching this back, I think you look fantastic, even if Aussie Andy doesn't.
No, I don't want to make enemies already here. Sarah Jane going down here to Tyrax early on. Maybe that's a bit of an enemy, a bit of a feud developing here on the south side of the map. And it's playing out very similar to like I expected, where a lot of people are going those safe drops, which meaning the main big drops aren't contested. Lockie
why is
going
that
on the
guy
board
out there
there. I
by
said I want to see how
himself?
some of
Where
these
the hell's
content
his
creators go.
teammate?
Lockie picking up an elimination and Punk picking up 2 eliminations on Sanka and Connor. So that's a good start for Punk. We didn't see him too much last game. Probably one of those more underrated pros here on the list today. Made it to Duo FNCS finals, but really hasn't found his perch as a pro player. So I kind of want to see how he goes. Mao here is at the log station too. So Mao getting a good shot on your boy Dossie. As we tune back over to Tyrax, probably getting an easy
Yeah,
finish on
nice,
Sarah
boys.
as Trapped picks up the elim on Mao. So that fight we just panned away from. Trapped.
We
and
didn't
your
want to
boy
watch
Dossie
that
coming
fight or
out on
anything.
top,
We'd
taking
rather
out
watch
Mao.
this kid
I
just
did notice
slide down the
Tyrax has
mountain.
got both bandage
do nothing.
cannons in his back pocket as well. Just one.
So it's a bit of a visual glitch here
Right.
with advantage cannons. They take up 2 slots, so it does show
Oh,
it
that's
as
right.
one.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
at
yeah.
the same time, it effectively may as well
They
be.
literally
'Cause it
just
does
switch
take up
off a
2 slots,
fight
so it
to
does.
that.
It's a very
Like,
big
why would they do
utility
that?
item that you have to have in the back pocket.
I do remember that now. But he does have some bandages there too, so there you go. Either way,
A lot of meds.
I'm going to have to look for some materials because he's quite low on that. But I guess it is still early game, right? Plenty of time to farm on up. And if you're able to pick some eliminations up early on in the piece, it's probably a
Kid's
you know,
just
a
camping
better
the
idea to do
bullseye.
that rather than
Yeah.
to try and spend some time farming up for your materials because the materials
Yeah,
can wait.
yeah.
The eliminations might not present themselves.
So it looks like maybe my prediction
Memo Duo actually killed him in
nowhere to be seen at
Cream
Lazy
yesterday
Lake. I have to assume
in
that
the
he's
Duo
back
Cash
over at
Cup.
the Shark as well, because I found that a very
even
strange
kidding.
change of plan. I don't know why Repulse went Lazy Lake. Maybe he wanted an aggressive drop to get a few limbs
Well, that
and
was
play
free.
out from there. But once you have that grappler in hand, if you're someone like Repulse God who can quite easily actually 1v2 quite a lot of the teams on the board, you have that superior mobility to find it. Again, I'm just guessing so far, but he's not at Lazy Lake.
Well, keeping an eye on Tyrax, who's picking up a few of the magic mushrooms, and he's able to grab himself some shields off the back of that. Trombone coming out as well. Love to see it.
Maybe they know. I wonder if they've got eyes on the fact that we're watching a bit of the emotes coming out here. Here we have our team. Winners of last game, but obviously not winners on the leaderboard. Alex and we got Alex and Zach Jones here who are coming in second. We got the image of Alex Jones here. Sorry, Zach Jones, who we saw at the start. He obviously gave us a little bit of a shout out of who he's looking forward to giving his charity money to as well. Very passionate about that. So hopefully he does pop it off today. And we have Kiki over here near Grotto on the edge of map. So this is just south of Grotto. It's a pretty interesting drop. Bit of a safe drop as well. The shots coming out from the helicopter can't really hide that from too much. Can outbuild it, but only has 4 builds to a name. Needs to be careful. Hingedog down here just having fun either way regardless, but I don't like the positioning they're in. I don't know who that's above them in the helicopter, but we have Moose pushing in. It was Moose. Moose and Chuckstar coming through now. Moose again, one of those pro players to be a little bit less known coming into today, but making a name for himself, picking up 2 eliminations. I'm guessing Hingedog on the back foot here as the AFL player, and Moose just charges in and picks up the elimination. That's bullying. It's a good strategy, maybe in the helicopter, taking those shots and trying to suss out, are they a better player? But they're using that helicopter for the superior mobility, going around the edges of the map and finding those players that you have to imagine are just a little bit weaker or wanting to play a lot safer by hiding down there.
Yeah, definitely. Not a bad start there at all for Moose and Chuckstar, which is Charlie Cameron coming from the Brisbane Lions. So big fan right here. Brisbane boy myself. Good to see them getting some points on the board. Jarlin and Hannah are going to be running around in close vicinity to a couple of other duos, in fact. So maybe not what you want to be seeing from their perspective, but we'll see how they're going to be able to do here in game number 2. J.A. Cousins.
So we got 3 teams here, but it looks like one of them being a solo. So we have Alec, who still has his teammate, and we have Jarlin, who has their teammate. Tyrax and Papley down here on the bottom side. We're actually pretty low right now in a fight with I'm a Loser, and I don't know who Loser's teammate is. We've got 3 duos here. Need to be careful. There's one also off camera to the right who's now taking shots at I'm a Loser from behind, realizing they're in a bit of a situation. It's actually Muselk.
Took that guy forever to build.
Looking to put themselves on the board here. Muselk and his teammate going to try and push through here. Connor Rosie saw how good he did last game. Can maybe see what he can do with a teammate.
Cleanser, by the way, is Cat, so he's going to be a fairly solid performer, I'd imagine. Tyrax, someone that we've been seeing kind of farming up points, and if they do come into close contests, this could be pretty interesting, particularly with that third party coming in from Muselk and Rosie. Connor Rosie.
One thing to point on here, Muselk with the skin choice. Now, that is a very typical skin choice if you're going to go for a bit of a meme strat where they've both gone for the grey toy soldier. So, very good for blending in with rocks in different terrain. Maybe they're going to go for that strat here. I don't know. I could be preemptively calling it, but knowing that it's a Muselk, he gave us kind of an idea he might go for a meme strat, and then he's rocking a skin that is very well known for meme strategies when it comes to his YouTube content, and Rosie just dancing out on the edge, having a good time with it, but finding some minis and some shield. Maybe he's playing this one a bit more seriously. He's got a very good loadout, has the legendary shotgun, but now taking shots here from Bumper and lots of skinnies. Bumper again, another one of those pros. He's on the best roster.
Sydney boys.
I'm from Tassie. Game, so not one to count out, but also not one that is as well known in the pro scene. Taking shots as helicopter. Muselk needs to get away before they take too much damage, or the helicopter does.
Well, looks like they've managed to take control of their little corner of the map. Bumper is duoed with Jordan Clark from Geelong Cats. That's lots of skinnies, who we just saw on screen for a moment there. Nice little streaming setup for him. Muselk is going to continue flying around in the chopper, very close to the water.
Yeah, right on the very edges. I mean, it's not a bad strategy. Pretty much can't be shot out here. There's pretty much nothing can happen. So chilling out here in the helicopter, pretty much actually going to park it on the water. Again, I'm not one that plays the regular game mode that often, but he's, interesting here. So he's not fishing inside a fishing hole, but with the fishing rod, you can still pick up small fries. You have a very small chance of picking up a flopper as well, but that is going to get him potentially some mess
funny if you just got
to go for that heal off. Maybe it's a very small chance, but something he can do. But we tune back into earnings check, which is Brezzo on the high ground, taking down Trying Jennifer, which is Papi's teammate. So Brezzo having the numbers advantage, Papi by himself, nice builds, comes out, has those fish, obviously realizing the last game went to heal off. You'll see a lot of these teams prioritize those areas for the heals. Papi has a tall order here to 1v2, one of the best players in this region as a solo, but also backed up by a teammate, trying to drop down right now if he can. Looks like Brezzo's trying to find his way through. Papi has the advantage now on top, but needs to be careful because there is a teammate there, obviously.
Oh, I thought he
his way through. Great double perspective.
That was the guy who was fighting.
We have Brezzo on the top right with his teammate, and then we have Papi in the bottom left, having to solo, taking the loot of Jennifer, one of the WFL players here today, one of the women's female players. So should be interesting to see how Papi can play it. Maybe go for the reboot, or maybe just stay there in the box.
Yeah, Brezzo hanging out with Tyler Brown, his duo from Collingwood Magpies, and that was a team that we saw performing pretty well in the rehearsal. So definitely not one to scoff at, and I think Mr. 4589, aka Tyler Brown, does know his way around Fortnite. So it's not kind of like a one-on-one, really. You know, sometimes you think about that in that kind of a context. I think this is something where it is really a 2-on-1, and Papi's going to have to deal with both of these players.
Yeah, and I'm seeing in the distance as well, we still have Jesse up there, X2 Fishy. We've seen more screen time for Jordan. So right now we haven't seen too much happening with Jesse, but he's still been up there, and we see Serpent in the distance too. Trying to see what we got eyes on. I have to imagine that Fresh Mitch Robinson must have had a pretty cruisy start again. The issue last game was cruisy start, but then the first fight they took broke apart. Mitch Robinson went for an aggressive push and didn't land it. Probably won't make that mistake twice, but if they've had a cruisy start again, it's great to hold that consistent lead, right? They're the ones who set the pace. They don't need to be pushing those eliminations. They just need to play consistent. Out of their 13 eliminations, as much as Fresh picked up 6 elims, 7 of them did still come from placement as a solo, so...
Oh, Radius is down already, so Jack Sausage on
There's
his
a dude
own.
called
That's
Ernie
Jack
Check, a
Silvagni,
pro. Yeah, it's
from Carlton
Brezo.
Blues. We saw him in the video a little bit earlier as well, and so to lose Radius early on in the piece, that of course being the pro in this duo, is a big loss, but he does have a
It's a
helicopter
dude who
at
won
this
the
point,
AO
so could
tournament
get into
back
center
in
circle
January.
relatively easily as a result.
We see Mitch Robinson and Fresh in the helicopter there at the center top of your screen on the left, so they're kind of making their rotate through, but also I've got eyes on Repulse God there on the far west, which I'm imagining on that positioning, grappler in hand. He's looking pretty crazy on this one, but hasn't been fragging out like I expected. Maybe looking to do an endgame. Tyrax on the back foot. You said Earth Cleanser. That is Cat, who's a World Cup solo player. 1v1 against Tyrax, a player that's made a name for himself more recently. So we kind of have the old Vanguard versus the new here. Can Tyrax go up against Cat and trying to achieve something? Cat getting the 2 big pots off, taking him up to 100 effective, 112 health, but has no white meds, so has no health meds, only gets max shield. So again, we're seeing more of this pro with the AFL player backing up, helping them a lot. Again, dropping things like that, right? It's not all about the firepower, it's also about what they bring as far as the utility, the inventory. You have double the options for what you can carry, and Esh is now pushing up on the edge of this fight. Not someone you want sniffing around, lingering at the edges of a fight. Has incredibly dangerous aim if he can find his way in with that AR.
We'll see whether or not they do decide to engage this one, or if they just want to take this opportunity to rotate into center. Ashes has managed to get himself up onto the roof here, keeping an eye on things and looking around, but hasn't spotted anyone out just yet. Now Tyrax,
I'd be trying to get like a full loadout of heals. Like carry 1 gun
Pick up these
and
minis
4
here to get some
heals.
extra heals off. Jordan coming down. This is a big engagement. Fresh and Mitch Robinson setting up on top of Jordan and Kyle Dunk. So that's 2 very big names. I don't think they know they're there, and I don't think they're going for the engagement. I just think this is Mitch Robinson and Fresh playing very smart. And Fresh has 2 limbs though, so they've ran into someone and put themselves on the board as Trap takes down Advanced Deer in the feed. And we see Earth Cleanser, so that's Cat just took down Papley, and then Eshes finishes them off. So in that fight right now, it looks like maybe the Tyrax and his teammate are actually on the back foot, but Jordan... Oh, we see a little interesting strat here from Jordan. So they're actually farmed up under an indestructible building. So it looks like they're under the roof here. People won't know they're here. So Jordan right now is leaving all those full builds from the house above them. And no, they're going to leave. They don't like the idea of Fresh and Mitch Robinson being on their head. I thought they were going to sit there and stay, but looks like they're disengaging. Kyle Dunk getting a bit confused here and jumping up a bit. Mitch Robinson and Fresh smell blood in the water. They're pushing forward. Mitch Robinson putting himself on the board here. First elimination he's got so far.
Here we go again.
Takes down Kyle Dunk. They're trying to go in for it. Fresh has to, Jordan has to get out of this 2v1 situation. It's Mitch Robinson and Fresh, and it's Mitch right now that's putting out the damage. He's doing everything here. It looks like he's still alive there. No, Fresh takes down Jordan. That was a massive pickup for them, and there it is, 4 points on the board just in eliminations alone. Fresh and Mitch pushing their lead forward.
Yeah, one of those big contestants out of the way as well for Mitch and for Mr. Fresh Asian. That's going to be great news, as well as Mitch Robinson looks to pick up a few of those extra mats. Big pickup here for Fresh and Mitch. They do have a fair few other teams hanging around in their general direction around Slurpy Swamp, so they'll need to be a little careful of that.
We have eyes on another Dunkley brother here with Jesse. Obviously, Jesse and Dunk still in this one, but Fresh and Mitch picking up that elimination right next to their base, so they have all those materials. It's regular game mode, so 3,000 material cap. If they've got that on top of their helicopter in zone with 4 eliminations, I mean, for once, maybe in my career, I'm going to predict the winner. That's their head. I've now said that, so they have the least chance of winning because I'll probably curse them, but they're doing very well at this point.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a cast or curse kind of a thing. Not only in Fortnite, but any title, it really does seem like it's something that comes more often than you'd expect. Now, this is Jack H and Twisty3, who are bunkered down in a cone.
Yeah, they're on the edge of the map right now, but I say edge of the map, but there looks like there's a few teams here. Jack showing that hands off the controller. I think that's maybe just a sign of there's people right there. I'm scared. I know they're there. Again, maybe Jack, not as experienced as a player of Fortnite, isn't used to being this close to people and things not happening, right? They just have to hide. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do. As we see Eshes and J-Mac set up in the center zone on a very, very big high ground. So looking good for them, but Mitch Robinson and Fresh off to the right. Game looks like it's playing at a similar pace. We have 30 teams alive, 53 players. So what we're seeing here, I can see, is not as many solo players. Quite a lot of duos sticking together and staying alive. Maybe these pros realizing the value of their teammates, that it's not just all about them, as we see a lot more duos still alive.
Well, very much a case of slow and steady wins the race right now.
Audio
Ash
is
alongside his
fixed. Wait,
teammate,
what?
Muzelk and Rosie, Connor Rosie from Port Adelaide, are quite happy to be sitting up in the helicopter for now. And you sort of touched on this as a pretty good strategy early on in the game.
He looks
but I
like
think
he's
once we
shitting
get into
himself.
mid-game,
Yeah,
once we get
2A.
into the late game,
Yeah.
that's where things could potentially start
Or Mitch
to
Games
become
versus
unstuck.
Papi.
Mitch Games,
This
24/7,
Seahawks.
is in an engagement with Papi, who we know is a very, very solid player. We got Mitch Games on
Oh,
the
Mitch, you
camera
got
right
this, bro.
now. See how
Swamp
he's going to be able
pumping.
to go in this engagement. Does get some edits out, and let's see whether
This
or
is
not he can
game
gain
2.
high ground. Certainly not going to work out too nicely for him there, as he's boxed off immediately by Papi and has to
Says he's got 2
break
launch
his way
pads.
out.
I don't know if he
Looks
actually
like
does.
he's got zone on his back, needs to be careful. Not a spot you want to be in. Has the purple
Mitch is a
pump in
god,
hand though,
look
so
at
could
him
cause
go.
an upset. He could do a 200 damage one pump. He could take Papi out here, drops down.
Oh, I
This
saw
might be where
waiting
the
for
pump
one
comes in
pump,
handy.
it'd be
Does
so
he have
funny.
it? Papi's playing this one very safe
he's
though,
gonna shit
taking
on.
all the angles, showing the professional prowess on the edges, just takes those angles, gets the edits, just doesn't want to go toe-to-toe with him. Mitch Games, again, don't count him out. That purple
don't
pump
edit
can do
anymore, you're
more
dead.
than enough damage, take down Papi
He's
in
dead
one
anyway.
shot, but no, Papi with the disrespect. I think that actually came down to a pickaxe and a dance. Papi,
Oh, no.
kind of known for having those kind of antics, not exactly someone who is very, very nice when it comes to being the advantage over someone.
No, definitely not. But we'll see how it continues to go here for Papi, because he is still going
That's
to have
bullying.
a lot of work ahead of him. 51 players still up in the discussion right now, 21 duos. 29 duos, I should say, and so there's a long road ahead for anyone that's still left in this game at the moment. Meatball 38 alongside your boy Dossie in an engagement. This time it's going to be Ghost Trap that is going to be eliminated. So
When it was
boy
quiet, it
Dossie on
isn't
his own
anymore.
right
Yeah,
now.
I
It's a
found
big
a way to
bump
turn
the
it up.
face,
Yeah.
and that'll be the end of that. Luda picks up a second elimination for himself. Well, a 5th elimination.
Yeah.
Second in that small engagement.
Yo, Rainy,
And
what's
Meatball
going on?
38 just happy to be along for the ride at the moment.
So again, we talked about some of those teams are going more aggressive. Luda, known as a phenomenal player, came top
What
5
happened
at
to
AO.
Fresh?
Someone that I actually
I don't
predicted
know.
not to
Did
do
he
well.
die or
AO
something? I wasn't watching
surprised
the kill
me,
feed.
absolutely popped off, and one that has been very much on the radar of a lot of players here. Has the drum gun in his inventory now, so he went agency, he backed himself as a player, he went for that aggressive drop in. I mean, out of any
Mitcho's
gun,
so
I think
funny,
the drum
yeah,
gun
he's
is the
a-
strongest
Nah,
gun
Fresh
for
and Mitch are still
solos,
alive, they're
other
chill.
than maybe the grappler. But again, grappler's more utility, more defensive.
Yeah.
But Luda right
Yo,
now
Nate,
is one
what's
of the
going
best
on?
guns in the game to just walk forward and walk through people as he is. We see Lockie still in there though, pushing up near Mitch Robinson. One of the stories we told of who's going to be able to go maybe the hat trick, the back-to-back-to-back charity winning tournament. But I think Lockie may be kind of slipping away from him here. He's still here, but he looks like he's a solo, and Fresh and Mitch are setting the pace. Luda picks up another elimination. One to look out for in this game. If he can get towards the end, he had floppers in the inventory too. He could maybe have an upset here and jump straight up. I don't think he was far behind on that leaderboard.
Well, we're getting to that point of the game now where one small mistake could potentially be the end of you, because there are so many teams congested into the one area. Jinx, once again, looking to get some high
Yeah, it's
ground,
just gonna
get
be who
Petcher
has the most
alongside
heals
him. They're
again.
built up a little bit, although they're not quite the highest at the moment. That is J-Mac and Eshes.
We saw how high ground went for Jinx last time, so you know you got people lurking, and we have Luda picking up another elimination. So we saw Alex there, who the winner of last game still wasn't in the lead at the end, so he won the game, came second overall. So eliminations, you need to find something to get on the
OC's
board.
finally getting
Luda
noticed,
aware of that.
yeah.
He's still
Be
pushing
nice to have
forward.
some
You can see
more
him at the
OC
very
points.
bottom there. Jinx through the wall. Obviously, Jinx can't see him. This is just the joy we have of the spectator mode. Got some big names. So there's Repulse, the one that I was looking for on the edge. He hasn't gone anywhere near as aggressive as what I thought. Maybe for the first time, he's just going to try and go for an easy placement and not push for those eliminations. But Fresh and Mitch still looking so pretty in the middle. And this is where you need to calm down a little bit. You can go for those peaks and maybe those eliminations, but you are so close to placement, which is top 15 teams. We see 27 there. So as soon as they get in that top 15, they'll start racking up the placements. You don't want to go aggressive now.
I'd like to know if Muzelk and Connor Rosie are still alive.
Oh
Look at
my
that.
god.
They were ready.
Muzelk's
The
just
observers were ready.
chilling.
They knew. Muzelk seems to be doing okay. I'm not sure where old mate Connor
I wonder
has
if he's
gone.
out of
Looks
render.
like he might have fallen off the helicopter. I don't see him
I mean,
anymore.
you don't have immunity to fall damage from this helicopter too. If you get knocked out, but Muselk is driving this perfectly. I don't think people know he's there. No one's looking up. No, there is. There's
Oh.
Connor Rosie. So he's out of the
What the fuck?
helicopter, but he's
He's
alive.
like,
I don't know how that
This is
happened.
boring. I'm
Yeah.
jumping down. Let's go.
Yeah,
Have
maybe
some
he just
fun.
dropped him off, and he's
How the
found a
hell
nice
did they
little
get
spot here.
split
He's in the
up?
zone, I believe. He has 5 of those small fries. So I talked about fishing outside in the water, not in a fishing hole, and he copped zone. So zone goes far south, which is exactly where Connor Rosie is. But Muselk right now, I don't think anyone knows he's up there.
No, and that's, I guess, you're sort of hedging your bets, right? If the ground battle doesn't go
Rip
too
Luda.
well, maybe the aerial
Just died.
support will be there, and vice versa if the aerial
You
support
doing box fights later? Probably not.
Still up to the same
Do some of that tomorrow, I reckon.
shenanigans. Hiding, really.
He's having fun though. He's having a laugh. That's what it's all about. Even when you're a back foot not doing that well, he gets zoned perfectly. So you see right there, he's literally in the corner, and I think they got next zone. I think maybe that's why he's laughing and he's so excited. He's trying to
Volks
get up
is
here
better
and maybe
than
get out, but
any
at the same time,
team
sitting down here in this level. So right now,
It's hard
he's
to
in the
say,
water.
like,
You see
when
his
he
health is slowly
hasn't
ticking up
been
one
to
by
NA
one.
yet.
He can get up to 100 if he wants. As soon as he jumps out of that water onto that floor, that effect will stop. So he is actually being completely blessed with this position.
Yeah, this is huge. He just has to sit there and do nothing.
As Muselk is too, apparently. Muselk up there in
Imagine
the sky.
laser
He's got
beam
eyes
this.
on
Yeah, I'm
this
actually
one.
surprised
He's
he's
looking
not,
at the airdrops. No way he's going to go down for it. We see Code Laser, which is Dylan set up there right next to Muselk's teammate Connor Rosie. We see Jesse picking up 2
Like as if
eliminations
they
in the
didn't
feed
send
on
him an
Babs and
invite
your
to
boy
play with
Egg.
someone.
Looks like Fresh and Mitch Robinson had to make a far rotate from their edge. They had the... Oh, there they are, Fresh Mitch Robinson. As I say that, coming on the edge of my screen in a really nice spot. Looks like they just walked all the way through, building up. They haven't used any of their meds, and that's going to be very important because when last game went to heal off, they want to hold on to those. But as we see here from Jesse, doesn't have any of the meds in the back pocket, so they need to find some soon. Otherwise, there's no chance they win this heal off.
Yeah, definitely. And for now, that is going to be pretty difficult, given that the only way that they'll get that is by eliminating another team, which is obviously high risk, kind of high reward as well.
Yeah.
That is just how it goes. Jamie Lamb chops, takes a big chunk of damage, and that's from Moose, will be eliminated in the end of there. And we're down to 36 players left in the action as Pompey goes ahead and farms up another tree. Doesn't have too many mats aside from the wood.
And we have Jinx on the high ground. Maybe this is the game. So Jinx obviously showing that he wanted to prioritize the high ground early in that last game. Got knocked out by Fresh. Now Fresh not having as many eyes on it. Maybe Jinx will be able to claim it, but he's not in the best spot for it. Lockie's set up here. His teammate has gone down. Lockie has 1 elimination on the board. Only has 1 flop.
Who's
Obviously,
Code
it was his
Laser?
brother,
That's,
Chances, who came second
Dylan.
last game. Predicted that heal off was going to come.
Wait,
but
is
just
it Dylan?
didn't predict that Alex would also predict it.
Yeah, I
and
think
have
it's
the better
Dylan.
inventory for it. There's Repulse beneath him.
Which is
Not the
Brezo's
player you
sure.
want beneath you. As Papi picks up another elimination in the feed.
Things are starting to heat up a little bit here. You see the rotation coming in from Moose and Chuckstar. They're kind of trying to get that high ground as well. Repulse God goes flying across the screen.
Wait, there's actually Storm Surge. Should I
as
see?
well.
Wait, where's Fresh? I see Mitch Robinson on the left, but I don't
Fresh
see
is
Fresh.
right in the middle.
Oh,
right
Fresh has
underneath.
gone into the thick of it, so he rotated
Yeah.
before Mitch. Now Mitch has to go from behind. Maybe a bit of a launch pad issue. There is Fresh. He's on the right side of the screen, so maybe a bit of an issue there where Mitch Robinson couldn't
Oh, he's
follow
getting
up
poked
after
as
Fresh
well.
took the
Oh,
launch pad. Mitch Robinson, he's still got the bandage cannon, he's still got the mini, so he needs to try and stay alive if he can. There he is, makes his way back to Fresh inside
That's
the box.
big.
There it
He's
is.
showing.
He's got the bandage cannon to top up. He needs to hold on to that because right now that utility is massive. If he can back up Fresh with that bandage cannon,
Who's
you don't have to
that?
use it on yourself. You can use it
He's
on
a
a
controller.
teammate. It heals
Pro
for
OC
15
player.
every time you use it, as you see, which will be so big for this heal off.
I think it's a good thing that he's got that headband on, because quite honestly, he's probably sweating a little bit after that one.
Yep.
Keep the sweat out of the eyes.
Definitely.
Good news to stay alive, though, and rejoin Mr. Fresh Asian. They're actually looking pretty solid right now. They've got the meds, they've got the heals that they need. They've got the weaponry there. It's not amazing for Mitch Robinson.
Yeah.
Not sure what's in the back pocket for Fresh, but
How many
they're actually
launches
fairly
luck you
central
have?
for
I
them.
think the launch pad
Kinda
thing's
down on that low
glitched.
ground, and
It
Jinx
always
and
says people have
Jetpack
like
are
5 or
really
6
taking
and they
this game
don't.
away now.
Ooh, Repulse God. He did go for
Like,
the
I
grab
reckon
like
that guy
predicted,
has,
but he
like,
didn't go for
what?
the aggressive strategy with it. He used it to try and
Like
get as
14
much fish
launch
as he could. He's
pads,
got
and he
7
definitely
floppers
doesn't.
in the inventory. I think he's going to go for the win. He might have a chance here. 7 floppers is pretty massive, but we saw Jinx on the high ground. High ground's great for getting eliminations in a normal competitive game, but if you don't have the meds, there's no point having it to go for the heal off. So really, I'm looking for those players. Again, he has bandage cannon, but that's about it. That
What,
going
is
up
Mitch on
against 7
KBM?
fish
Yeah.
is nothing exactly. Is Jet Petch carrying the meds, or is it all on Jinx here to try and finish this and maybe get some eliminations? I'm also trying to see if I can see Alex is down there as well, though. So BLS Cal, he is down there too, maybe trying to come in second place, see if he gets that win again. But they need to start finding some elims.
Yeah, everyone needs to start finding some limbs. We haven't been seeing too many, quite frankly, despite how congested things are. Mitch Robinson is under
yeah.
pressure right now.
Fresh has the 6 fish too, so he has
Someone's
that heal off
knocked, like,
advantage
right
too.
next
So
to him.
he's now going for both the meta. He's like, look, we have the aggression, we got 4 limbs.
Oh!
But at the same time, he turns around and
that's
finds
free.
it. Tyrax goes down. That's another bandage cannon here too. They can't really, I mean, maybe Mitch Robinson might actually drop it and carry 2 bandage
Dual
cannons.
bandage
No,
cannon?
Fresh is going to run it. I think Fresh is dropping all his guns here and going pure heal off meta. It's worth it. He's going to wait here, maybe
Yeah,
till
you don't
zone
even
closes
need
out. So
guns
as you can
anymore.
see, we're on the 8th of 9th zone. So 21 seconds. This one's going to completely close out and the game is going to end after that on 9th zone. So Fresh, I think, dropping chopping all guns, giving them to Mitch. Yeah, Fresh has now just got a full loadout of meds. I can almost guarantee it because Mitch has swapped and has all the guns. There it is. He has 1 pump in case he needs it, but he has 5 fish and the fully stacked bandage cannon.
Ooh.
That's going to be huge. I think they might have the heal off as Repulse God takes out Mitch. So that was very lucky that he dropped his meds. Otherwise, they would have gone over to Repulse God.
Let's see how this one does turn on out for Mr. Fresh Asian right now. He is just hiding quite comfortably. No one pushing into his box just yet.
He's trying to
And
find
I
a
mean,
layer
I've just got
by
a perspective
himself.
here we haven't shown on stream yet.
Maybe
we have
someone.
Muselk still in the sky in the helicopter. I kid you not. He is up there and he has
Oh
5
my God.
small fries and 1 flopper. There he is. I wouldn't call it a meme strat. It was actually so well done
Bird's
as
eye
Cow
view.
goes down in the feed. So we have our second place team out of there. So Ken Fresh and Mitch Robinson, or again,
Mitch is
Fresh
pretty
is the
good.
only one
Yeah, he's
left
probably
now,
the best
extend
AFL
that
player.
lead.
What about Muselk? Can Muselk manage to catch up, put some points on the board for his team? Well, I'd say he's in a good spot to do so, but hasn't managed to make it too far into the placements just yet. Things are starting to get a little bit interesting though, and we are very quickly going to see this one disappear.
So we have 13 teams
Uh-oh.
alive now.
What are you
12.
doing?
No, Muselk's been spotted. He can't get out of here though. If he gets knocked down, does he get
Oh my
He
God.
mistimes it, so all the fish go to waste. Unfortunately, just mistimes it. It's Repulse God who's the one who does it to him. He talked about Sweats taking on
He
the
just
meme
botted
strat
hard.
card. He wants his points on the board. We've only just gone into placement, so top 15, we now top 10. So remember, it's top 15, top 10, top 5 for placement. So all these players now are gaining maximum. Repulse God on the high ground with 6 fish. I think this is the first time I've ever seen an end game with Repulse God with only 1 elim. But Fresh so far out of
Oh my
everyone
God,
I've
Fresh
seen,
is
I
so
think,
chilling.
no, he doesn't have the superior heal off. He's had to use a lot of fish here. Repulse God on the high ground has that heal off superiority. He's got 4 floppers left. He's looking for players, but there's nothing he can do. He needs to just relax. He needs to just
Yeah,
sit
he
here
hasn't
and
got enough
know and
heals.
back the fact that
Repulse
he has the
doing.
meds. Fresh going down. Jet Petch. We have Speedy with 3 fish, but again, bandage cannon though. Speedy has multiple meds here. If he used the bandage cannon, but
Big.
Repulse gets the limb on Esches. No siphons. That doesn't top him up at all.
I think
Repulse
Fresh has got
3
this.
players alive, 3 teams. They're all solos. Repulse going for the high ground. I think he's got more health than
Fresh
Speedy. He
is
does.
dead.
Unless Speedy hits another med, Repulse will win this by 1 tick.
Oh, he's
No,
got it.
Speedy
Oh,
has
he's
more
showing.
meds. He has the floppers. And he wins it. He closes it out.
Comes down to another heal off, but it's
Fresh
Speedy
and
to
that
pick
should
it
still be
up
winning
this
on the
time.
overall
Mr.
leaderboard
Fresh
after that,
Asian
though.
Again in the placements pretty comfortably. Muselk, he really tried to get something going there in the helicopter, but unfortunately couldn't really pay off for him. Look, a great finish again, you know, comes right down to the wire, but again, another heal off. Repulse God was trying to, I felt like, go aggressively a little bit there towards the end. You know, he's like, okay, I've run out of meds. Need to try and make something happen here because maybe things won't go my way. And in the end, they did not. But that is a shake-up, you know. We saw, like you said, Cal, aka Alex, out of the picture pretty early on in the piece. Second place.
I thought
does
Fresh
drop
had that for sure,
probably
but the other
now.
guy had
Yeah.
more.
I don't know, though, whether anyone's going to be able to catch up to Mr. Fresh Asian and Mitch Robinson off the back of that because they picked up a few limbs. They picked up some placement points.
Yeah.
They're looking to escalate that lead a little bit.
Yeah, this is the old placement format. If you weren't here at the start where we ran through it, again, obviously if you're used to watching current competitive Fortnite, used to placements going out for pretty much every placement towards the end, it is a threshold format, which means that top 15, top 10, top 5 win. So Fresh got into the top 5 again. So short of getting the win, he actually picked up almost maximum placement points also. With those limbs in the back
He's
pocket, they
out-tried,
have to
yeah.
spread their lead out. But Speedy, a new face up there, Speedy ND.
He
up
botted
there
out, though. He
very,
didn't get
very
out of the
well.
helicopter
And
earlier
Repulse God, like I said,
to start
I
popping
expected him
fish.
to have a big game, but it didn't go the way I expected. He did it passively by getting fish and using the mobility to go for heal off again. Only 1 elimination though.
The unfortunate
Fresh and
situation there, though,
Mitch
is the
are
fact that
first,
they
yeah,
started
for
on 0
sure.
points. Well, Repulse got in his
Yeah.
duo, so to be able to get into the top 2, great, but not being able to have that massive game that's really going to elevate you into the top of the standings, I don't know that that's enough, and that's sometimes really all that it's going to be now in the 3-map sort of series for these teams. And like we talked about that before we went live into the game, we were saying you have to come in good from the start. You have to have a solid performance in game 1 and in game 2 and in game 3. Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, it wasn't there for game 1. Has been there for game 2. And now really what you're hoping for is going into game 3, that some of those teams that are towards the top end of the standings are not going to have a solid performance. Otherwise, it's going to be really quite unrealistic, actually, for you to be able to catch back on up.
Yeah, and Fresh and Mitch obviously have that advantage of the POI they're going Pleasant Park. It's a little bit out of the way, but at the moment, it looks like they're having it almost entirely to themselves. They had 2 eliminations when we saw them, so they found some people, but I don't think it was on drop, so they've got a very consistent drop, but Mitch Robinson alluded to it in their the pre-game interview we had with him. people know where Fresh drops. If you see them on the leaderboard at the top, and
Mate,
it's
we
a
don't wanna
charity
watch
event,
the
but still, if you're
highlights, we
going
just
for the
wanna see
top
the
dogs,
leaderboard.
you might be going pleasant in this game to see if you can upset it, but they're also a very scary duo to run into because we talked about earlier, they have the most firepower in this game. If you're going to go to a 2v2 and you're going to put your money on someone, it's probably going to be them. Is Fresh now going to have raised over $100,000 for charity alone at the age of 18 as a pro player? It would be an amazing story.
I mean, you got to be honest. Like, I think if someone wants to take that top spot, I think that they do have to kind of hot drop their opponents.
Oh, that's what happened. Sorry, I thought Kyle maybe hit the
Yeah.
tires, but it wasn't. It was actually Mitch Robinson with the grappler, yoinked him up there, said, "Get over
Go
here,"
sweat,
and then
Fortnite,
chases
what's
down
going
this
on?
elimination. So again, the AFL boys, Mitch Robinson's the one who actually
Who's Fresh
opened up
playing
this
with?
fight,
Mitch
got them to
Robinson.
two elims, and maybe set them up for the victory. Not Fresh.
Yeah, definitely a nice little sneaky play that's sometimes hard to pick up on from different POVs, but finally got the insight as to what was going on.
This is where
Mitch
Mitch got pickaxe.
having a rough time in this engagement against Parpy, and you can kind of expect to see that. He looks
Imagine you
like,
just
you know,
one
like,
pump
oh, what am I
together.
even supposed to do? And that's sometimes how I feel like going into games like Fortnite. I'm just getting dumpstered by people who are half my age.
Or with these guys, I mean, I play this game a lot. Like, I have been playing it since day one. I'm a commentator, but I still play it quite regularly. I feel like that against these guys. They are a whole nother level. Half of them, some of them are half my age, which is just ridiculous. But they put so many hours into this game.
Clan?
That's
Just a clan at the
Mitch
moment.
Robinson picking up the elimination on Tyrax, so he definitely isn't just being hard carried, and this is where it broke down for Muselk. He was getting shot at. That flopper would have given him 50 health.
Hopefully an
You'll see
org
it
in
go
the
here,
future though,
but
who
it
knows?
takes a second to pop. So 9 health, it was like 1 millisecond off going off, and then he had all the small fry in the back
Did you
pocket,
see that
but
losers
he just
fruit
missed out on top
skin
5. I
in the
don't think that
files?
would have been
Yeah.
enough to stretch the win. And this is where you talked about where Repulse God had to go aggressive. He didn't have anything left. Speedy luckily got those eliminations on the loot pile.
I've seen the
down below,
ninja
which gave
skins
him
back
more
out,
meds.
so I'll probably
Repulse God
release
gets
it
the
after that.
elimination on
Goes down
Ashes
the
here,
item
but
shop or
Ashes
something.
wasn't carrying any meds for him, going for that same aggressive play. But that's an extra point. That's 1/3 of a win.
Well, Repulse God just wasn't able to quite get it done in the end. Speedy obviously being able to pick up the victory. And I like what we saw in game 1 for Alex. He had plenty in the back pocket there as well. If that would have gone for another 10 or 15 seconds, he'd have been quite happy with how things were progressing.
Yeah, so we're going to wait for the leaderboard to show, but man, you
Yeah,
have
show
to say
us the
Fresh
leaderboard
and Mitch,
already.
they've got a quite sizable lead going into game 3, but it's still top 4 on the board. There's still a lot to gain here as well. There's also a lot of notoriety, like I said, like Alex picking the meta before it even happened for game 1. That's still
Bro,
massive.
I'll get you
There's lot
guys a
to gain
salary
from
of
this.
20
The
cents
OC
a
Fortnite
week if you
community
want.
is very small. It's very close-knit. Everyone knows
Where do I
everyone.
sign?
There's a lot of bragging points on the line.
Yeah, definitely. Super good stuff, though, from Speedy and Jaden Stevenson. So we're going to see how they're feeling after having a win there.
Who killed Loser Fruit? I'm not actually sure.
So actually, I'm told we can do it right now. So let's go ahead and dive into this discussion. It's Jaden Stevenson and Speedy, our winners of Game 2. Hello, boys. Can you hear us?
Yes, can you? What's going on?
Hey.
Awesome. Well, I don't know who to direct this first question to, but I guess we'll go with you, Speedy. You're the quote-unquote pro in this matchup. How are you guys feeling going into Game 2? How are you feeling going into Game 3? And did you have any sort of set strategies or ideas of what you wanted to do, or did you kind of just come in here with, kind of a happy-go-lucky kind of attitude?
Yeah, so our first game, we didn't realize there would be a heal-off sort of format, so we decided to stack up on the fish this game. And we've been playing a bit of duos in the week leading up to it, so pretty much our way was W key everyone we saw.
Okay, fair enough. Well, so obviously, Jaden, I'll direct this one at you then as well. So you guys said you're playing a bit of duos coming into this one. Have you played much Fortnite before this, or has this just been a giant learning experience under Speedy's wing?
Considering we're playing, I've been playing kind of bad. We haven't been doing like too well. It's good.
Did a great job.
Exactly, yeah. Like,
and
kind of first game we got like sold a match. Second,
extra motivation.
Rough draw.
Wait, what happened?
Awesome. Well, I guess
felt like we had a good like we jumped.
Yep.
What is happening?
All right.
That was awkward as.
Jaden, again for you, what's it like coming from obviously a professional sporting environment and jumping into now what we would kind of consider a semi-professional, it's a pro-am. So this is kind of a semi-professional kind of gaming environment. Is there much of a difference? Is it a little bit of a weird world for you?
Yeah, certainly. Obviously you go out and play in front of 70,000, 80,000 people, and because it's what you know and it's what you do, it's not really that nerve-wracking, but I'm sitting here with sweaty hands. I'm talking way too much, and lucky Nick's taking over and carrying me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're under the wing of a very, very smart, very experienced competitive player there as well. So Speedy, you talked about how you didn't see first one going to heal off. Do you have a prediction how Game 3 is going to go? Do you think maybe those players who are trying to push up in the top 4 are going to go a lot more aggressive, or do you think we're going to see 3 for 3 heal offs?
I think it's pretty difficult to get those placement points because there's so many people in the end zones, and because it's not arena, the zone just closes into a tiny little gap. So I think the people are going to realize you get a lot of points from kills, and there's a great amount of people playing that don't have as much experience. So I think it's go for the kills, I reckon.
Fair enough. Awesome. Great to hear from you, Jaden and Speedy, and best of luck in the rest of the competition.
Thank you.
Can you show us the leaderboard now,
Alrighty,
surely?
well, good to get some more insight from them. Look, it's really interesting to see these AFL players coming in and having a bit of a chat and just sort of telling us exactly how different and how similar it is at times from going from professional sporting into professional gaming. And I know it's not professional gaming right now, but it is to an extent a highly competitive environment.
Yeah, you got big eyes on you as well. Speedy ND's been playing competitive Fortnite since the start. Actually started as a content creator and then made his switch into competitive too. So these guys have been around. It's still a very serious tournament, and interesting to see that he didn't predict that game one going to heel off, but then just quickly adapted to the meta. We talked about, is 3 games enough to develop the meta? And I think obviously it is.
Yeah, definitely. Just to touch on how things are going here in AFL Stream King, we're 2 games into our 3-game charity tournament. There's $100,000 on the line, 50K for the first place. A duo, and the way that works, Aussie Antics, of course, is both the pro
Fortnite
AFL
pros,
player
yeah,
and the pro player or content creator from the Fortnite side of things have given us their charity of choice, and we send 25K to each charity. So you split it 50-50 between the 2 winners, but obviously 50K total for that duo that picks up the victory, and the same would go for the third, second, and fourth also place is where you need to get to make your way into the dollar figures, right? Top 4 out of 41, not a particularly easy task, particularly now that we're starting to see some teams kind of edge ahead a little bit.
Yeah, and I mean the same thing as well. A lot of people think like with earnings, obviously like it's for charity and stuff, but these guys take it just as seriously. Some of these content creators and these pros have done massive charity drives. I know obviously a lot of the Click guys are in here. They did a huge bushfire appeal, charity drive recently, so you know they take this seriously. I mean, I did a stream with Lachlan where he was donating $500 for every single win he got in Fortnite. So even though it's charity, this is a lot of money on the line for people who really, really need it, and I know these guys are going to take it seriously right to the very end.
Yeah, you'd love to see it, and it's such a great time to be involved in all of this. Fantastic to get the support as well from AFL, Fortnite jumping in here as well to help on out. Obviously, this is the AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite, and I think it's really cool to see the professional athletes in this kind of environment because it's not something that you really get to see all that often. I know to an extent Fortnite does see this a little bit more often than other titles. You have pro-ams quite a lot in Fortnite, and a lot of those do tend to feature sporting celebrities and that kind of thing. But I kind of wonder what kind of a world it must be to be a professional gamer, that does this for a living, and then all of a sudden you're paired up with this guy, like we said, like what Jaden said, you're playing against, or in front of, I should say, 70,000, 80,000 people. So these are like massive, big-time real-world celebrities and massive, big-time real-world internet celebrities, which are kind of clashing together and coming together. It's kind of a weird sort of amalgamation, but it seems to work.
Well, it's crazy when you think about it. Like, people think about, playing in front of 70,000 people. Quite often, these streamers alone can pull like insane amount of viewers, where if you imagine them as people in a stadium watching you, it does add a lot of pressure to it. But I think the other funny one as well is you got people like we saw Alex with Zach Jones earlier again, that you've got people who are literally half your age or children telling you what to do. And it is great to see that so far everyone we've talked to, again, we heard sweaty hands there, but having fun and just getting into it, enjoying a new experience. I think you'll probably develop a lot of people who have a better appreciation and understanding of gaming now.
All right, well, now that we're 2 games into AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite, are we kind of hitting those expectations you had coming into this? Are the teams that you thought would perform well?
I did see he was getting a bit of hate on Twitter today.
So I originally thought that being a regular game mode, it might go to more of a heel off. But just as these players we've talked about it, me as an analyst of Fortnite and a commentator, I'm used to watching it in the competitive game mode with pro players. I've watched pro-ams in the past, but the fact that this is playing out in regular duos changed things up a lot. So I think it changed things up for the players. Like Speedy didn't predict a heel off. I thought it might, and I kind of predicted it halfway through. But the amount of players alive, last game, I didn't get to mention it, there was a Storm Surge indicator. It didn't go to Storm Surge, but these lobbies are so incredibly stacked that we're getting to that point where it looks like a competitive game.
The games would be so much better if it was actually like
those aggressive players that I thought, again, I was looking out for like Repulse God and stuff. He had to change his whole playstyle. If you follow OCE competitive or worldwide competitive, you know that you've never seen Repulse God ever go that passive before, but that's just what you got to play to win.
All right, well, let's talk about our expectations going into Game 3. We haven't,
and they talk way too long between games.
Game 2, we'll get that in a second. But going into Game 3, it really is looking like Mr. Fresh Asian and Mitch Robinson will be the 2 to beat, and we've already talked quite a lot about that storyline. Fresh 3 on the trot is what's on the line for him.
I used to like when Courage and Dr. Lupo would cast on the like official Fortnite broadcast.
3 in these kind of pro-am
they were good as.
Would be really cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we saw Alex there who had the game plan down one, and maybe he was the only one who predicted it, so he had that advantage.
Bring
Game
Siphon
2
back to
couldn't have the
pubs. Yeah,
consistency.
facts, eh?
Fresh, and I mean, Fresh obviously game 1 was the one who kind of pulled it through for Mitch, but for Fresh and Mitch to have that level of consistency across 2 games now when no other team can kind of find that purchase, but the consistency across 3 tournaments for Fresh potentially, even if he doesn't win this, the fact that Fresh has never underperformed in a Pro-Am just shows that whatever he has is the skill set for this, whether it's that communication, the raw game knowledge, but there has to be something about Fresh just picking up someone he hasn't played with that much before, just meshing with them and then performing.
Yeah, I guess the fact that he's such a popular content creator as well probably makes you think he's the kind of guy that does get along with a lot of people.
Definitely. I mean, he's got a lot of fans as well. I know there's a lot of people at home who wanted him to win. Again, competitive for Fresh. It was very interesting. He started his story as a competitive player. That's where Fresh made a name for himself. He originally found his way into this click group with Lachlan and Musel and players like that when he was a small content creator.
Yeah, I
like
haven't really watched
about, but he was a content creator of pro gameplay. He streamed his
know.
pro games. He didn't do anything in the realms of just fun challenges or messing around. That kind of shifted, and now he's pretty much gone from
This
being
is just a
arguably the
viewing
best
party.
player
I'm
in the
not
world
playing.
to now
I mean, I
arguably one
wish
of the
I was
biggest
playing,
content
but
creators. But he still has that ability to perform on a pro level, especially when it's these pro-ams that maybe are a little bit less competitive, or you have to have that greater skill set of communication.
Yeah, something kind of magical when the 2 schools of thought really come together, because a lot of the time, you know, an individual will be very focused on their competitive drive and trying to compete at the highest level, or they'll be very focused on that content and trying to build up that brand and trying to be that YouTuber or whatever it may be that they aspire to be. But now you've got kind of that together in one, which is something that you really don't get to see all that often, and it seems like Mr. Fresh Asian is a very, very special person in the fact that he's able to bring both of those worlds together to that degree of success, right? Because, yeah, I mean, it's easy to say, like, oh, you can just do this or do that, but to be able to do both of them at the same time makes it even more difficult to be on top of your game in both aspects as well. Like, it's a very rare person that is that good of a content creator or that good of a Fortnite player, but to have both of them in one is just incredible.
I mean, I implore anyone who doesn't understand Fresh's story as well to go and watch the Watch Time podcast he did with Muselk, his good friend, and Grace, obviously from Click. It was a phenomenal story about Fresh's upbringings and how things started. He is someone who has pretty much gone from rags to riches, and he tells that in full detail. So, again, it's something you can go into more detail on now of just the life-changing aspect of gaming. We talk about how much money is going on for charity here as well, but it's literally changing lives. It's taking people from, you know, next to nothing to absolute global superstars who travel the world and do crazy things. So they have that following who looks up to them. But at the end of the day, people like Fresh, they're normal kids, normal people who just have a phenomenal skill set for it.
Yeah, and I don't think that Fresh is the only example of that.
Don't
either.
talk
There's
as
plenty
much
of
because
other
your
players,
audio is
even
loud.
from
I
the
can turn it
Oceanic
down a bit
region
if you
that have
want.
been able to come into this game. You know, they weren't really necessarily anybody before they started playing Fortnite, and then they've just skyrocketed into this kind of fame and fortune, and being able to have these sort of experiences as well. Not necessarily just it's not about the money, it's not about the fame, but you get to travel internationally as well, which is like, even for me, you know, as a commentator, I've traveled internationally, and it's not something that I ever really expected to come from gaming, and yet, you know, you've seen all of these different places, which is just insane.
Yeah, at the same time, we look at other players as well, like Brezzo. He won AO $100,000, same thing. He is now a face. I guarantee if anyone at maybe his school or people he knew didn't know that he was playing games, you'd have to know. That was everywhere.
It's not
got
loud.
people like Booger, who obviously won $3 million in the Fortnite World Cup. But I think the amazing thing to see with these kids is, I know there's a lot of concerns around it, is has it changed them? But it hasn't. They're the same great kids.
Well,
There we go,
having a look at
finally.
the match results from game number 2, just to point out that this is not the standings as they currently are. This is the game 2 results. So you'll see that Speedy and Jaden were able to pick up 17 points, which is quite a big chunk of points. 13 there for Mr. Fresh Asian and Mitch Robinson, who came in 3rd place overall. Repulse God 2nd. We did see them being able to do that, but like you mentioned, not too many eliminations there for them. So some good points being picked up towards the top end of things, and quite a few here back again on towards the 0 points. What's really important to see, though, Aussie Antics, of course, is going to be the standings and where everything sits after that. 5 points the gap going into the final game
lead.
here. It's Brezzo and Tyler Brown that are leading the rest of the pack behind Mr. Fresh Asian and Mitch Robinson.
Yeah, really big names in there as well. We saw Brezzo in 2nd. Crazy he had that insane performance at AO, and he can back it up here. We have Dylan, his teammate, at the top at 11th. These are players who can still jump up into 4th. Repulse God obviously going from 0 points to 9, so he went from last place to 14th. I said it's not common seeing him on the bottom of the leaderboard, and he wasn't there for long. Only one game. He's found his stride. But seeing people like Jesse being outplaced right now by Muselk is pretty crazy, so there's definitely some bragging rights there. Jarlin as well on 1 point, being in competitive Fortnite since the beginning. Not used to him seeing his name down there on the leaderboard either.
Definitely. We're going to head into game number 3, though, and this is the big one. Mr. Fresh Asian and Mitch Robinson leading from the front, but it's only by 5 points, and there is not a lot in it. They need to have that consistent run. All 3 games you need to be good in,
win,
and
right?
that is going to not change at all heading into this final one. Of course,
Well,
it is
looks
AFL
like he's going to
Stream
win
King,
this one as well, unless he
$100,000
does
to charity at the end of tonight.
One thing I'm noting here as well, we got 3 llamas on the top northwest side of the map. I said that's where a lot of the action was going to come out, and it did. Repulse went shark. There's 3 llamas there up for grabs for Repulse if he goes for the same play, but also up for grabs for Mitch, Robinson, and Fresh if they can spot them. So they're very, very close. That's a lot of material, especially when you have that higher mat cap, and it looks like I can see Repulse God and his teammate Westy heading towards Shark, and we also have Fresh and Mitch sticking to Pleasant, and looks like he's uncontested unless someone is dropping on them right now. And we have, on the little cams here, we have Bordy playing one of her specialties. Bordy is known for being able to play the recorder, actually has a special talent, being able to play it with her nose. She can do a double nose recorder.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Maybe for the interview, I don't know. Just
maybe.
saying.
I think they might have to win to that point, though. No, that could be a little tough. What I do find pretty amazing about that is I couldn't really even play the recorder with my mouth when I was a kid. I don't know if you played recorder at school, but I did.
I don't know why any of us were shown that. That's probably not, it's not the instrument, is it? I remember sounding like we were butchering some animals while trying to play hot cross buns.
Yeah, definitely wasn't a great sight. Anyway, this is trying Jennifer, who is spotted up with Papi.
Unfortunately, Muselk going down in the feed again to Jinx, so that was same as game 1. Obviously, wherever Muselk is dropping right now is bringing him in the firing lines of Jinx. I think they're dropping around that rig area. Like I said, Jinx is going there for the Boombo. He knows that drop incredibly well. He held it down during Duo FNCS to be the best duo in the entire region with that drop. So not the smartest plan there from Muselk dropping near him, and looks like he's punished for it, but we saw how well his teammate was able to hold out the last one. Maybe Connor Rosie can do it again, maybe get that reboot card and get him back into the game. I'm not sure, but it's going to be a tall ask of what is essentially the AFL player in this duo.
Yeah, definitely a tough ask, but either way, they're going to have to make it work. I really am interested to know whether or not anyone has hot dropped Mitch Robinson and Mr. Fresh Asian, as we see Chances does manage to get something done onto Loser Fruit.
Yep,
like
Loser Fruit's dead.
Pretty early on in the piece alongside Advanced Deer, which is her teammate. So that'll be the end of their tournament.
Fortunately, Viney, maybe we got the prediction, so maybe Viney was predicted by Mitch Robinson to have all the gear, no idea. Don't want to throw any shade there, but is out of this one now with Lufu. But we talked about those content creators. They aren't the pro players. We've talked about how some of these players here have over $100,000 in earnings alone.
Every time he calls Jinx the winner of
amazing content creator who hasn't been focusing on Fortnite as much. It's a pretty tall ask to perform here on days like this, but it's just great to see them getting involved. So they come into this knowing
said he was
and
gonna
they still show up on the day, have some fun,
do a
and
video
some
on it,
great
but
things for charity.
he hasn't.
Credit for that. I mean, it takes
I don't know what's going on.
a good person, you know, to dive into a charity tournament like this over and over and over again. And,
just always be out of your depth and just always have some fun with it. And just know that, again, everyone wins at the end of the day. It's all for charity. People are going to be better off because the tournament, because AFL and Fortnite put this one on. And like you said, Fortnite is a title that has so many of these. Like any other title, this would be incredible. $100,000 on the line. It still is, but it's crazy. It happens all the time. And Repulse, here it is. They have the Shark. So Repulse got in Westy taking Shark uncontested again, which means they're going to walk away with that mythic AR and that mythic grappler to give Repulse that superior mobility. But great to see here again, someone that I predicted as a very strong solo player come here and still stay with his teammate. I could very easily see Repulse just take that grappler and run and just go for eliminations, like we see Luda here trying to take down Sarah Jane. We saw her at Slurpee Swamp earlier. Now she's back over at Craggy, so maybe trying to change up the game plan. Unfortunately, Luda is very well known for dropping here in competitive and very, very well known for pretty much taking down anyone who tries to contest him.
Clay taking a big chunk of damage there, just getting the heck out of Craggy Cliffs, hiding down on the beach. Wonder whether or not Luda knows where he is. I'm sure for now, Clay is very much going to be hoping. But the answer to that is no. This is Clayton Oliver from
I didn't, but I can have a look right now.
Yeah, Luda certainly seems to have his sights set on finishing this whole duo off.
Oh, wait, you just send it to me.
Sarah Jane.
Clay's kind of moving away here. Clayton trying to get out of this one. Crouch walking away silently. Luda has lost eyes on him, so maybe doesn't know, but Meatball's also close by, so if Clayton's too loud, Meatball might be able to hear it. And the builds, that is a very loud audio cue. I think Meatball has heard it. Now they're heading back over. Clayton being aggressive here, going to go 1v2 against Luda. Don't know if that's the smartest idea, but again, playing this out solo would have been quite hard. And here comes Luda here to finish it off. He gets the elimination. That's 2 on the board for Luda, who is one to look out for in those standings. He was around the top, and we see Alex picking up an elimination in the feed. Was second place going into game 2. Unfortunately, had a rougher game, but someone who can jump back up there as they get 2 eliminations on the
Saying
board
it
on
doesn't
Brezzo.
matter.
So earnings check, Brezzo is
Doesn't
out of
make
here,
it
who was in
weird.
2nd place. So that's 2nd place down in game 3.
Yeah, what the
which
hell,
has to
Aaron?
mean that Mitch Robinson and Fresh's run to victory might be even more secure.
Definitely made a little bit easier, but that's not to say that there's going to be no one else that can compete. Yes, it was a 5-point deficit or 5-point advantage for Fresh and Mitch Robinson from 2nd place, but even down to 3rd, 4th, 5th, you know, it's all within one game's kind of result. If Fresh and Mitch Robinson get knocked out here without getting too many points on the board, anyone really can catch up from there.
Yeah, we see Alec in the bottom right here now in an engagement. It looks like I see 3 players on the board. Alec, teammates to Jay Cousins still here. They're trying to find it. It is King Butters, who you commented on earlier, having some pretty good builds and a solid player for AFL, but at the same time going against Alec, who had an insane performance recently at DreamHack, coming top 10 representing OCE, was massive. So definitely not the player you want to be going toe-to-toe with. Esches has found himself at the yacht and used the helicopter, I believe, maybe to get there, or they've dropped there and the helicopter's still there to disengage. Either way, very smart drop from Esches, utilizing the fact that maybe no one's there. Trapped in another fight, trapped, and your boy Dossie been putting up some serious eliminations on the board, but I think your boy Dossie jumps off. He doesn't take too much fall damage. He doesn't go down, but maybe needs to be a little more careful of the high ground there.
Yeah, definitely something to be wary of. You see it all too often, someone falling off and falling to their death, but they'll be okay for now. There's a few meds even there as well if they need them.
Yeah. A little bit of a myth specialty there as well. Anyway, if I was Fortnite, unfortunately, it's plagued his career with it. But when you got thousands of eyes on you, it's very hard, and the pressure's there. But it just explains that it can happen to the best of us. Mitch Games here now has to hold this porta potty. If you're not used to watching Fortnite, that basically kind of acts as a portal. So that porta potty links to another porta potty directly above it, which is where the 2 duos are there. And if they come down, so maybe Mitch Games has the advantage here holding the angle, but it's still a 2v1, and it's very hard when they pop out of that porta potty to hit 2 players simultaneously. So we'll have to see. Great tack in hand, no meds. He's smiling, he's having a good time, but he's not in the best position.
Definitely not. J-Dunks and Fishy, which I believe is Jesse, hanging around here in the helicopter, just having a bit of a chill. They've seen the success that Alex was able to have alongside Zach Jones, I should say. Bit of a tongue twister there. Yeah. In game number 1, Esches has got himself a little speedboat.
Speedy picking up an elimination in the feed. So Speedy, who came first last game and jumped up there. And I mean, if any of them were watching, which I mean, they well and truly could have main feed. Obviously, these guys are streaming it on their respective channels as well. So there's a lot of people with eyes on this. They could have maybe seen how well Muselk did in that helicopter. Messed up the heal up at the very end, but no one knew he was up there. He made it into top 10 without essentially really doing anything other than just very, very good flying. Alec confirms that elimination on... Wait, no. Alec taking elimination on Kyle Dunks. That is one of the Duncan brothers. I'm not sure which Kyle Dunks 6 is. That maybe is Jordan's teammate, not Jesse, as we had eyes on Jesse's teammate a little while ago. Repulse God picking up elimination on Hinge Dog too, so maybe trying to jump his way up in there, not going for the fish strat and just going full aggression. And there it is. It's because Jordan found himself too close to Sweaty, and Alec trying to stamp his name in this final game as the king of Sweaty.
Oh, they're getting a little bit aggressive right now onto Jordan's position, though he is fairly healthy for the moment. Alec needs to be a little careful, has lost some of his shield, so has J.A. Cousins. They'll just slow things down for the moment. The heals come out, Jordan gets on the aggressive, he's taken the high ground early, and Alec boxed in. And this is where Jordan really does look to try to push the issue. You know, if he can get rid of Alec, but that is not going to happen at all. Kyle Dunk is gone, Jordan is gone, and you just get punished for that aggression by Alec.
Well played, took the wall, took the stair, beautiful edits, but he walked straight into Alec's legendary pump, the strongest weapon in the game, arguably, as far as the shotguns go. It can easily do 220 damage. We have Cat in a 1v1 engagement, though. Alex put on the back foot, so BLS Cow, the winner of our first game, he's on the back foot now. Zach Jones going down, so it's going to be a 1v1 between Cat and Cow, which is Alex, but Alex takes the wall here, toe-to-toe. Alex, obviously, the one who's done very well game 1, but hasn't had as much competitive success. I mean, in recent times, though, Alex has made more of a name for himself, going up against a solo World Cup qualifier in Cat. Can he make more of a name for himself here and win this fight? This would be a big engagement with a lot of bragging rights on the line. Blue tack comes out. Alex on the wall, gets the cone in, but doesn't have the wall. Unfortunately, Edit's coming out. He's only got 2 builds left to his name. I think 0 builds left. Cat jumps down and finishes it off. 21 health. Cat manages to close out Alex's run. Unfortunately, predicted
it's called AFL Evolution.
Game 1, but can't find purchase in Game 2 or 3.
Yeah, well, all that he ends up doing in Game 3 is actually passing a few of those heals over to Cat, which, you know, maybe he was setting up for that heal off in the end, but it's not going to help him out at all. Turtle has found himself a helicopter here as well, and Luda continues a bit of a rampage, though has lost Meatball 38 down on the ground at the moment. Unlikely to be able to get a res at all. J-Mac, those rockets in his direction. Luda not too happy about that one at all.
yeah, showing the strength of having that AFL player, even with the Rockets just laying rocket into rocket, it's disrupting their builds, but Repulse came in, so this is the strategy I expected to see from Repulse, just using that grappler, that superior mobility to show up and close out fights just like that. So Esh is on the back foot now. Esh thought he had the aggression, but then Repulse got him. Westy showing up on full health, full shield. Repulse with that grappler. This is the play I expected to see from him in the first 2 games. Maybe realizing he has to go aggressive now. Repulse putting some serious damage down on Eshes, and here they are on the edge of it. You get to see Sky's AR, purple pump. This is a scary loadout for the rest of the lobby. This is what Repulse looks like when his back's against the wall.
Yeah, Westy, Riley West from Western Bulldogs definitely does need to heal on up. It's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Westy, Riley West, who's from the Western Bulldogs. There you go.
He's got it there. He's repping the boys right now. So Repulse is going to try and find his way through. Got the grappler in hand. This is what I thought I was going to see in game 2. And he's going to go aggressive. But Esh is back up to full health, full shield. Needs to be careful. Obviously, Repulse has identified which one's the pro, and he knows this. But Esh is probably feeling pretty comfortable with his loadout too. But Esh has no shotgun. There it is, drops the green tack. J-Mac backs him up, drops him the grey tack. Unfortunately, sorry, green tack. J-Mac's got that RPG in hand. He might not be able to do too much with it in close proximity. Repulse is trying to put down some damage. He's got the highest fire rate AR in the game.
Go by.
There's only one of them in the lobby. So right now with zone closing, whether Repulse gets these eliminations or not, with that grappler, he can just disengage, where it looks like Esh is going to be stuck here on the edge. So this is not a good spot for them. Has 6 crash pads though, so can use those for a bit of mobility too. Repulse setting up in the bush for the ambush. Eshes is ready for it though, throws up the build, staying safe. Repulse just waiting patiently for that moment. Can he find it? But Radius taking down Mitch Robinson in the feed. That's very big right now. So Mitch Robinson out of this game, which means Fresh has to solo clutch this in first place. So crazy engagement going on the screen here, but very big turn of events in the feed as far as the rest of the tournament goes.
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad you pointed it out as well. That continues those storylines. Everyone else trying to catch up to Mr. Fresh Asian and Mitch Robinson. For now, it's J-Mac and Eshes that are trying to catch up to Repulse God, because he is kind of camping them out. The zone pushing at their back. Repulse God at the front. It's really a rock and a hard place right now for these two, but that is a nice rocket that has connected. Have to imagine that was from J-Mac, and Eshes, he recognizes that. He's on the aggressive early. Repulse God backs away.
He's got those shields off. He's going to try and get them off. And Westy caught out in the open. Gets some nice builds off, though. Westy showing that he definitely isn't new to this game. Like, obviously, he's still doing pretty well. Built up next to Repulse. Has a nice high ground. Yeah, Westy, solid player. So he's trying to back up Repulse here. Repulse went and gained full shield, but he has no health meds. J-Mac with his rocket has been so good to help. He's just been interrupting every time. So Eshes can apply the pressure. There it is. Eshes finds purchase for that blue AR. Gets some beautiful shots. Repulse got on top of him, though. You can never count him out, even on the health deficit. Repulse is a very scary player. As you can see there, beaming up J-Mac. He's pushing forward now. No siphon to be gained as it's regular game mode. So
how many games is there? This is the last game.
Finishing Esh's teammate. J-Mac, I think he's still alive though. He's just very low. He is still alive there. Repulse on the high ground needs to be careful. Goes for another short pad. Looks like he wants to get away from this fight. He's put on the back burner. This is very bad situation for them to be in as a team that could have overtaken Mitch Robinson and Fresh, but haven't seen Fresh in the feed, so obviously disengaged and hopefully got away from that one safely if he is to go back to back here today.
Can I just say, J-Mac is Justin McKinney from the Sydney Swans, so one of your boys trying to represent for the team, and they've done well in dealing with Westy, which was Repulse God's teammate. Obviously not an ideal start for Repulse God, but he was able to put in some good work towards the end of things in game 2. Papi will finish off P-Nash, and Trying Jennifer has fallen down here as well, so that'll be the end of her competition. Papi playing with Maddie Shevlin, who is an AFL Women's player for Collingwood Magpies. Fury Chrysler here in the one-on-one against Papi as they've both lost their teammate now.
Yeah, so Chrysler, he's a very, very solid solo player again. Someone who's been up there in competitive Fortnite for a very long time.
I don't even know who that is.
Same level of fame or maybe advantage going into this with Papi, but at the same time, mechanically, I think he might have his match. Papi and Chrysler, I would say, are equally very, very solid players. Not one to kind of count out of this, but Alec picking up elimination on Jet Petch. See if we can maybe get eyes. I can't see. There's Fresh on the very, very low amount of health. Radius hunting him down. This could be very scary. Fresh, this could be torn them right here. Fresh is on 1 health. I think it has to be a slither. And Radius pushing forward with, oh no, it's the drum gun and the epic tack. If this comes down to a 1v1 close, if Radius can find Fresh, this might be very, very messy. Serpent and Kindy hanging about.
Fresh
maybe they can apply some pressure. Fresh trying to get out. He has no meds left. 2 health, 25 shield. This could spell disaster. He has 33 builds, but if he builds, he's going to give away his position. If Radius somehow gives up on this and leaves it, Fresh maybe pulling this off by just hiding, but Radius is looking. Fresh can hear him. He's outside the wall. Did Radius look in there? If he looked inside that tunnel, he would have seen that there was no front wall on it. I think Radius
He's got
Has seen it.
He
Radius
definitely
sees
knows.
it. No Fresh is on literally 2 health. No shield. He has the builds. Drum gun coming out. Surely not even Fresh can pull this one off now. He's on the back foot. He's running away. This might be the back-to-back-to-back ruined right here. Radius pushing forward. A very, very scary player. Fresh sitting there with the door at it. I think Radius knows he's there. He's hunting it down. He smells it. He knows Fresh is around the corner. There's Fresh sitting there. He's moved, and there it is. He pickaxes him. There is no way. The ultimate story comes down to a pickaxe. The disrespect from Radius. They've both been competitive Fortnite players since day one. Radius in the original Chiefs roster. Fresh signed to RNG, and I could not imagine more of a fitting person to take out Fresh, but can he hold on to the lead? Do you think he might be able to?
I don't know. We'll see whether or not anyone's going to be able to catch up to them. Remember, Brezzo got eliminated earlier on in the piece as well, so it's third place now, really, that's trying to catch up to first. Papi does some good damage onto Elliott, JW Elliott, in fact, and to follow that up with an elimination here, although the edits and the builds are starting to come out. JW Elliott surviving for now. Papi certainly hot on his heels.
Wait, I didn't even realize they were in the
Elliott
storm.
is sitting inside of that 1-by-1. It is only a wooden one, gets the edit, gets the build.
Man,
And that is
just
the
got it.
end of JW Elliott. Papi with some nice heals coming out here as well. He's sitting inside of the storm, so needs to get that healed up pretty quick, and he does just in time.
We have Speedy, the game winner of last game, picked up quite a few points. Might be able to pull something off here as well.
This
they might
game's
be
going
the
out
upsets.
way
I'm trying to
quicker
think some
than
of
the
those
other
players
game.
that could jump up there. Repulse is on the list, Speedy's on the list,
Speedy.
Luda's on the list, so there's still some names around there. Fresh had that 5-point lead on second, which is Brezzo, who's out of there, but I know a lot of people at home, especially, like we said, Fresh has a lot of fans waiting eagerly to see if he can close this one out. They've performed so phenomenally well and so consistently. Game 3 being taken out by the drum gun in the hands of Radius, actually Lockie's duo partner recently, so kind of interesting there that it's Lockie's teammate that takes down Fresh there, obviously used to being teammates in these pro-ams, so it's a lot of interesting finishes here.
Well, Speedy, they get themselves just
Would have bet
comfortable
for
in the center of
Fresh,
the
yeah.
zone. Obviously, we do see that next circle shift, and a lot of teams are starting to look in that direction. It's actually not quite as crazy of a lobby right now, right? We've only got 30 players alive, 18 teams. And so it's not quite as congested. There's not as many people in this final couple of circles that we'll get to see as what we saw in game number 2. So things might be a little bit more chill here, particularly for Muzelk and Rosie. It is Connor Rosie here right now in the helicopter. I'm not sure where Muzelk is.
I saw him.
He's
He was,
alive.
he was over near that northeastern side swimming through, so I don't know why they keep splitting. Repulse Gold picks up another elimination. The feed jumping him up there. I also see Chanzas down there with his duo. Remember, Chanzas did come second in game 1, so maybe one of those teams that with a big game here can jump up. This might be the first game that doesn't go to heal off. There's a lot of players left, but if they start finding their way into this one as Muselk tries to find his way into zone, there's Repulse. That could be another elimination for Repulse if he gets on top of Muselk here. I don't think Muselk's going to be able to back this one against Repulse, but he could prioritize on the rotate. Repulse jumping around, has that grappler. It is by far the best weapon to have in your hand in this situation because it's just constant rotation. He can keep moving around, but there's a whole lobby holding him.
No.
There's a lot of pros here looking down the sides at Repulse. They could maybe upset this one right here, and his story could end as we have Best W Kia carry on taking down Muselk. We have Repulse God there on the edge, and looks like he's gone behind these builds. Maybe he's safe. That could have been massive for him.
Repulse has so many builds available to him, so these rotations shouldn't be all that difficult. Obviously, you talk about the fact that he's got a lot of people looking at him, but with 204 builds, he's going to be able to just spam walls out and should be okay. Bandage cannon there for him as well. If this does come down to a heal off, he might have something to play with there, although it's not looking too ideal for him in that department. So might just have to get aggressive, as you say, he is sometimes want to do. Next circle does shift away from the water, away from the river, so that's going to be good.
I actually don't like
the
him
majority of the
starting
teams that have actually set up shop on the land. Jay Dunks and Jesse are one of the fortunate squads that are going to have to rotate actually off of that water.
Well, that's free.
Muselk's teammate Rose, they're still surviving well. Repulse getting sprayed down. So the one thing to note, Repulse doesn't have any shield left right now. So he has the bandage cannon, which might be great for a heal off. It might be the white meds, but doesn't have shield. If he takes a few tags here, he's going to be brought down to possibly effective 100 health and trying to 1v2 to get himself back in the game. It's not the position he wants to be in. He's a very phenomenal player, but he's going to need to be here. Speedy with the builds coming out. This is another team that is in that contention. So if you're cheering on Fresh at home, this is the team you're actually looking for to go down here. If maybe you want to see Fresh not be the back-to-back-to-back, you think he has way too much spotlight, this is the team you're cheering for. Repulse got another one of those players up there, took a couple tags, and he's brought down to 117 effective health. J-Dunks getting sprayed up, but he makes the rotation. Alec in there as well. There's a few big names left, but I'm trying to think who could jump up here. It has to be between Chanzas, Repulse, and then is Luda still in this? I'm not sure.
Not so sure. We'll have to find out. I'm sure if he is, the observant team can find him for us. Serpent here alongside Kindy are doing pretty well for themselves. 2 eliminations and into the top 13 duos. Oh, that's a bit of an awkward edit. This Kindy goes straight down onto the floor. Cops a little bit of fall damage, but we'll be okay for now. Repulse God, the one that is under pressure from Serpent and Kindy. They just decide to back up and disengage that engagement.
I love the team play there. Serpent obviously editing Kindy down, probably not sure that they wanted to go for that peak again, not having that competitive team, and then yeah, just jump straight down, and then Repulse God picking up another elimination. He's not going to get the siphon for this finish, not going to get the shield back that he would have liked, but maybe can see if there's any shield on that body to jump over and take. But the more eliminations Repulse gets, the closer he's closing out this deficit to Fresh. So right now, I'm not sure who he can maybe jump up here. Chances is there too. Code Laser, which is Dylan, had a great game 1, but not such a great game 2. Jinx has been there every endgame. If he picks up the elims, takes that high ground again, Jinx as well, one to look out for.
All right, well, we've got a few players that are still within that top 5 alive. You sort of mentioned Jinx a little bit earlier there. He's one that we might be able to see overtake that first place, and whether or not that is going to end up happening, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Kindy and Serpent, keeping eyes on them, have got some bandages in the back pockets, some minis there as well in the hands of Kindy. It's going to be too ideal if this does come into a heal off, which, you know, you sort of said maybe might not be the case, but from what I'm seeing now, it seems like we might be headed in that direction.
13 teams still alive. They're inside placement thresholds now, so all these teams are getting those placement points. It's just crazy how small OC is a region. So Repulse God duoed with Fresh during World Cup. Their previous teammates, Jinx, played with him in trios and squads. So right now, Fresh has got to sit back and kind of cheer on the demise of previous teammates. It's just, someone's going to have to walk away with this one now, and it might not go the way that we want. We'll have to see. Did we potentially cast a curse? Probably one of the most stacked duos in an event ever, or are they going to hold on to the lead? The standings are very, very close. So yeah, so it looks like Speedy ND was the closest to Fresh going into this final game. It was only a 6-point deficit, so they could have picked some up there, but I don't know, I think it might be on Jinx here. They were 7 points behind going into this final game, so we'll have to see how many eliminations they have on the board.
Yeah, I don't know how many points Mitch Robinson and Mr. Fresh Asian were able to get out of this game as well. I'm not sure it was too many, maybe 1 or 2, maybe 1 or 2 points. So we might need to see them pick up 9, 10 kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if they do get the win here, Jinx and his duo partner, Jack Petrosuli, they may well actually end up picking up the victory here in AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite. We'll have to wait and see how things do end up turning on out, because there are still 13 teams alive, still 13 teams kicking here in game number 3, the final game of this $100,000 charity tournament put on by AFL.
Jinx has 4 eliminations, so he went into this game on only a 7-point deficit to Fresh. He might be able to take it. He's got 4 floppers, 3 big pots. He's got the loadout to do it. I'm very, very impressed at how well Jinx has taken to this Pro-Am. This is his second Pro-Am. He played in AO, but I think he didn't. Oh, he played in the first AO as well, potentially, but at the same time, the way he's led this duo and played it out like a competitive game shows how good of a teammate he is. Bit on the older side for the pros. He is very, very good at leading teams to victory. Actually, Fresh being on the back foot of that before being led to a very, very good performance in trios and squads together. So can he knock out his teammate from the top spot? He doesn't have the high ground like we've been seeing him go for every game, but that could play out in his favor. Has the floppers to go for this heal off. I have to think with those floppers, unless someone aggressively pushes into his box right now, he's going to get at least top 5 with that. And like I said earlier, placement right now is top 15, which they've already secured, top 10, which they're about to, 11 teams alive, top 5, and win. So if he can get in the top 5, I don't even think Jinx needs to win this. I think top 5 might be enough.
The question is it going to be enough? And that is not something that I can answer for you. It all really does come down to those standings when we get there after the game. But before we get there, they do still need to get into that top 5 that you mentioned. You say they're in a good spot, but things can change very, very quickly in a game like Fortnite. Repulse God, you can see, is being a bit of a mover and shaker with that infinite grapple, jumping up and down, trying to get some high ground. Your boy Dossie gets knocked down. That's by Parpy. Not quite be finished off just yet. Parpy being pushed in by the circle. He will eventually fall, and the bandage cannon helping Parpy out to heal back on up.
Ooh, Code Laser. So this is Dylan on high ground with the 2 floppers and the bandage cannon in hand. Like I said, those movers and shakers like Repulse moving around the map. Also used to be duos with Jinx. There's just, OCE is just such a close affair. There's so many big names in this one. I can't see Jinx where he is. He might be in a safe spot. Parpy coming here, taking out Trapped. Chances is in there as well. Chances going for some of the heal offs. I can't see Jinx anymore, so I don't know if he's safe beneath, above this. There he is above this on almost full health. So Jinx might be able to play this one out. Parpy jumps down, gets taken out. We have to see where Jinx is in all of this. Dylan on above. I still see him in there. Jinx is about about to secure top 5. That's 7 teams alive, 6 teams alive. If you don't see Jinx's name pop up on the left next, he is going to get top 5 placements. Has the heal off to do this. There's so many builds protecting him from top to bottom. I think he's going to be able to close this one out. There we have Dylan on the absolute high ground. He's only got the bandage cannon and 2 floppers left. I think with Jinx and the amount of fish that he had, I think he has the advantage. This heal off, Serpent's dropped down, taking more players out. Alec around the corner goes down. 3 people alive, 2 people alive. It's Dylan versus Jinx. If Jinx gets this win, I think he's going to close out the whole tournament. 1 flopper, that's it. 90 health, 80 health. He's looking to see if he can find Dylan. He's looking down, but no, Dylan is up. He's above him, has the bandage cannon. Dylan's going to close it out. Jinx isn't going to win this one. He goes down at the very end of the last second. Oh my gosh, Code Laser on top again in a tournament.
Oh man, who is going to come out as our victor from AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite? I don't really know. It's really coming down to anything at this point. Is that enough from Jinx to take that top spot away from Mr. Fresh Asian and Mitch Robinson? Maybe, maybe not. We really just have to wait until we get to those standings. But what a crazy final finish. Again, it does come down to that heal off, but that one much closer than the last couple.
Yeah, so that is, and he ended up picking, I think, 4 eliminations for Jinx and the top 5. So that's 7 placement points, 4 eliminations. That's 11 points total. That's a lot. When we're talking when these players are around 30-ish going into that game or a little bit less, that's pretty massive. So I have to think maybe he ran away with it. Did Jinx just pick up the duo FNCS win? So the duo competitive win in Fortnite. The last previous season of competitive was duos, and Jinx proved that he was the best duo in the region.
10 minutes
Is he
of
now going to be the best pro duo straight back to back?
So Dylan's team was 11th on the
Probably
standings
even
there as
15
well. They
before we
would have
see
been
a
somewhere
final
around
leaderboard.
12, 13 kind of points. I can see down to 10 is 13, and that's 13 points behind Mitch Robinson and Mr. Fresh Asian, but they picked up the victory royale there, and that's going to give them 10 points, maybe even still a discussion to jump up from potentially not even in the top 10 to a first place. We really do have to wait and see until we get to those standings. My gut feeling is actually either Jinx or Dylan have actually managed to pull off the clutch there. They've actually been able to get the better of Mr. Fresh Asian.
Did Fresh win? We won't know for a bit.
Obviously, we're talking about first. It
Was
is
that
still
last
top
game?
4
Yeah, it
affair
was.
Here. There was $100,000 online. It was $50,000 for first, but that still is $50,000 up for all the other charities left. It's an incredible event. So either way, if any of these teams have jumped up into their top 4 and nominated their charity of choice, you touched on it before. Obviously, each player was able to announce their own charity, and it's going to be split between that one. We're going to jump back into some of the highlights from last game. We're going to work on getting the standings for you as quick as possible. Want to make sure they're double sure, because this is going to be calling the winner of the AFL Stream King, $100,000 for charity.
Yeah, definitely don't want to be messing that up. I think we have a little bit of a wait before we do get into those standings. You know, we might get a winner's interview before we get in there. But for now, you know, we just got to keep touching on the fact that we saw such a great final game there in game number 3, and there was a lot of cool storylines going into it. You know, one of the key ones was obviously seeing Mitch Robinson and Mr. Fresh Asian getting knocked down early, which they were. And then for players like for example, Alex here, or Cow as we call him in the game, there was that opportunity to come back in and potentially take first place. Didn't actually manage to get this win in the one-on-one against Cat, and that could have been the difference maker. Same for Ashes, right? These players up towards the top end of the standings, just really getting into some tough engagements early on in the piece, and they're not really able to put that big win on the board that they needed to.
Come back and they still won't have the leaderboards
more or
up.
less assure them a first place.
Yeah, you're probably right,
We predicted earlier that when it would get towards these final games, they would start to be a bit more aggressive. You got to push for that top 4. You can't just sit back. So as the games went on today, they got less and less stacked. There was less and less people. This is where we saw Fresh's run come to an end from Radius, and I can't believe it came down to a pickaxe. We see what Fresh saw here. He had eyes on the other teammate distracting him, gets the 30 tag, and Radius runs on through with the pickaxe. The disrespect there, but I mean, you got to put on a show at the end of the day, and Radius known for putting on a show.
Yeah, absolutely. Muzel tried to put on a show in game number 2. Same for game number 3 here even as well, but just around the corner of that build, if he would have stayed a little bit more into safety, he might have got that fish off, and he might have been okay to try to rotate on a little bit further.
Just seeing a perfect rotate from Rosie. Gets taken out there from Serpent, but man, Connor Rosie is not one to count out of this one. He definitely was a solid player here today. Obviously, the meme strats, and that didn't come out for them, but I'm sure he still had a great tournament. I'm very impressed. Again, this is obviously, we've talked about a lot, pro AFL athletes putting on a show here against pros. Papi opening up this edit, takes down one of the players as we saw, and then manages to later on get the finish off on Trap. That was 2 eliminations. Papi could be in contention for that top 4. I'm not entirely sure. He's played pretty consistent here today. Drops down to low ground and gets finished off, and this is where it comes all down to that heal off. And Dylan, Code Laser, I can't believe how much use Code Laser has got out of that one. So much promo here, because Dylan has been putting on a show in comps and now in the Pro-Am as well.
Yeah, definitely a solid performance in the end there from Dylan, being able to pick up the win in that final game. And we talk about it really requiring consistency over the course of the 3 games. And in some instances, you know, we might have seen 2 good games out of a duo, but maybe not that third. And I think that's where the difference is going to be made when we do get to see the standings.
Yeah, 3 games. It's a lot to be consistent in Fortnite, though. If you don't follow Fortnite a lot, it's a battle royale. There's 100 people, so it's kind of hard to find that purchase. Today we had 82, so going into it and trying to have 3 consistent games where you come, you know, top 5 or top 10 or whatever it is very, very hard. Fresh did it game 1, almost solo. Game 2, phenomenal performance. Game 3, didn't get to see how that fight started, but I mean, Redius with the drum gun spells enough. I know how it happened. He just got outgunned.
All right, well, as has come tradition here in AFL Stream King, we're going to have an interview with our winner. This time it's Dylan on Fort, who goes by code Laser in the game. Can you hear us, mate?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Can
Tell
you
us.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Tell us about that final game. You know, you were going into it. I'm told you went in
Yo,
11th
Dylan, what's
place.
going on?
Do you feel as though you might have done enough to get up into first with that win?
Hopefully we go into the top 4. I don't know about first, but it was definitely a good game. That game we started getting floppers, and it got us the heel off at the end, so I'm cheering.
So yeah, so you say you got the floppers in the end, Dylan. Did you change your drop spot? We obviously didn't see you too much at the start. Did you change it up, or did you go same drop spot and then just change the rotation from there?
We stayed small side Misty every game, but this game I held a grapple, and every water spot we ran past, we'd get fish, and we rotated through Slurpee to dead side and to get more fish.
Easy.
Was that a strategy that you came into today with? Like, did you, initially in game 1 even intend to go for those heel offs, or was it something where you were trying to play aggressively and you sort of noticed the meta starting to develop, turning into kind of heel offs towards the end?
Well, game 1, I tried holding hell of explosives, but that didn't work because Nick threw a grenade and it sort of blew up our base. And then, we sort of died that game because we didn't have the right heals. And then the next game, that's when we started trying to heal off, and we got a 5th. And then this game, we got the floppers and secured the dub.
You have another question, Ozzy?
Yeah, so obviously Dylan as well. So you've had a lot of purchase, you've had a lot of success in duos when you're playing with Brezza, obviously. How did you go today playing with an AFL player? I don't know how much experience he had coming into it. Was it easier than you expected, harder than you expected, or was there anything of note to playing with a pro athlete in this scenario?
No, it was fun playing with Nick. It's good to play with an AFL player, but still carrying like usual. Got my shoulders.
All right. Used to carrying Brezzo, are we? Okay, mate. I don't know about that one.
Humble in victory, gracious in defeat, I believe is the term for that one. Anyway, Dylan, it's been great chatting with you, and I guess best of luck in terms of getting into that first place. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the case shortly.
All right, cheers. Have a good one.
Thanks, mate. You too. Oh, interesting. I don't know. He didn't seem too confident that he's gotten enough points done there. Yeah. It is hard to say, but in reality, maybe it was like 10 to 12 points the deficit for them, which if you pick up a victory royale, you get 10 points from the win. It's very much something that you can leapfrog.
Well, I mean, that's why. So we talked about earlier today when we talked about the point threshold. This is a old format. So this is the top 15, top 10, top 5 win format. Is a little bit different to what Fortnite currently has now. And one of the main reasons is it does lead to these usually blown out victories. If you have a few big games, you kind of jump into the lead. So it's really awesome to see today that we still don't know. It's great. You look at obviously performance in the past, like World Cup. We had Booger. You pretty much knew he was going to win it from game 4, game 5 because he just jumped out into the lead so much. So seeing these events, maybe the 3-game format, bringing it so close, you love to have the nail bite finish. You never want to just go into it knowing who's going to win. It's really exciting to see.
Alrighty, well, for now we just have to watch and wait and calm ourselves down. I guess this is where you start to build up a little bit of that suspense as we wait to see the match standings, Aussie Antics. I don't know if there's anyone that do you want to throw something out there and say, this is who you think's going to pick up the victory? This is your chance, right? You've been going on about it all day. You've been saying, I can call the leader, I can call the winner. Now's your chance to call the winner. Who's it going to be?
I've been the opposite, saying that I feel like I never call the winner. I'm known for being cursed with this, but I think maybe Jinx jumped up in the lead at the end there. That was quite a lot of points. I think that was a 14-point game for them. Sure. So they went into it on a bit of a deficit. I think they maybe jumped up into the lead. I'd love to see Jinx win it. One of those guys who is very, very humble like that. You said humble in victory as well. Came off the back of the duo FNCS win. He's probably been arguably the most consistent competitive player in Fortnite in OCE ever. The only other person a lot of people talk about in that same area is maybe Worthy, maybe Volks, who both didn't play tonight. So Jinx, again, we talked about today, it's competitive, but there's a lot to gain from this. Jinx has now performed in World Cup. He won a duo World Cup week. It wasn't a qualifier week, unfortunately. Almost won a solo week. He destroyed in trios, squads, and then just won duos and went to DreamHack to perform internationally. So absolutely celebrated pro. I'd love to see him win it as well. We talked up Fresh, but it's so cool to develop these other players who maybe at the broader stage, people don't know who they are. Everyone in OC knows who Jinx is, but maybe some household names now.
It's great to build these kind of storylines heading into future Pro-Am kind of competitions as well, something that I'm sure we'll get a look at later on in the future. For now, though, we do have the moment everyone has been waiting for as we dive into the final results. This is going to be 5th to 10th now 4th and 5th, as I'm understanding, were actually tied for points. So you're going to see them splitting that
Fresh and
5K.
actually
So right, it was supposed to be 5K for 4th place. They're essentially both tied for 4th place, and so they're going to share the 2,500, which would be 1.25 per charity for each of the individuals.
One thing I'm seeing there as well, maybe a bit of a spoiler, sorry, Dylan and Fresh are both there in 5th and 6th, so maybe they just dropped out. So Fresh and that not picking up the back-to-back-to-back, maybe they're not even in the money now, unfortunately. Just one poor game is all it took, but Serpents and Papi, they're 2 World Cup players. No surprise to see them there in 4th and 5th, as we're going to count it up from 3rd and up to just build that suspense a little bit more.
Yeah, all right. Well, may as well go ahead and bring up number 3 then and see who that's going to be. It is Jinx.
What?
So who has overtaken all of these players?
I can't do basic math, apparently. They're not even in 2nd. Okay, Jinx is out of there as well. Jinx is in 3rd place, so picking up $15,000 split with Jack for their charities of choice, 7.5 to each. I'm going to round it up to see who number 2 is, which maybe is going to give us a bit more of an indicator of what one is. Speedy ND jumping up after the win in game 2. Obviously, we heard.
My head.
I actually don't know. I'm trying to see who's up there, who's not. Maybe is it? No, Ashes is there. I've got no idea. I'm just apparently. Wait. I think I know who it is. Do I want to spoil it? Do you want to spoil it?
No, we don't want to spoil it.
Okay, I think I know who it is, and we called it potentially the back-to-back-to-back for one of them. I think it might have been a family affair, maybe. I don't know. No, it's not Alec out of nowhere. I don't know.
Alec and James Cousins, 33 points by 1 point.
By 1 point, they just flew under the radar. Okay, not only am I that cursed as a commentator, apparently can't do basic math either. I hope everyone at home is as surprised as me. Otherwise, I just look like a bit of an idiot. Alec having a phenomenal performance recently at DreamHack is a pro that no one will be surprised to do well, but I think he just did pure consistency, right? Consistency
wins.
Games,
right, did they? But they were surely within the top placings for the majority. In fact, like we said, you have to perform across all 3, and I think that's the storyline for the license.
Yeah, I didn't expect them to win.
Leading from the front, 2 games in a row. They did really well. Didn't manage to put it together for the 3rd game. Good stuff from Brezzo in game 1 and game 3, but not quite there for game 2. And plenty of interesting stuff going on.
So we have Alec, his teammate, obviously James Cousin, we see there representing Hawthorn Hawks. They have their nominated charities as the Australian Red Cross and the Gold Coast Hospital Foundation. You obviously mentioned being a Queensland boy yourself. Yeah. That's very beautiful to hear. So major props to Alec. I don't think anyone from Comp Fortnite is surprised to see Alec pop off here. But I mean, I feel bad that we didn't give him the representation to this point. We built up these storylines and the top 2 just are outside of that completely.
Okay, how about this? We'll go ahead and have a look at the match 3 results there, which would give us a bit of a better idea as to how they got these points on the board. And what you're going to see, Dylan able to get 12 on the board there, which was not surprising. They did pick up the victory, but
they had
Alec,
8 elims.
15 points, 8 elims.
We missed the 8 elims. That's why I just didn't see him fragging out on the board. So 8 elims, when you think about that, what first place was, only triple that a little bit more. That's actually a massive performance. Picking up the top 5, they got the 7 placements, and then they got the 8th elimination. So that's how they flew under the radar. It's because they jumped up massively in the end. 15 points in a single game.
And they were in 6th place on 18 points going into game 3. So they've almost doubled their points out of the game 1 and game 2 in just that one game in game 3. So you have that one big game, 2 pretty consistent games, average of 9 points off the first 2, 15 in the last one, and that's enough to put them up. Mitch Robinson, Mr. Fresh Asian, not getting a single point. That's a big one there. So same for Alex and Zach Jones, right? They get 3, which is not a huge amount, not enough to put them up into that first place.
Yeah, they probably will.
Wow, what a crazy, crazy finish here.
Yeah, 15 points in a single game. I guess that's the way you fly under the radar. I saw them there at the end. Very, very strong performance from them. And yeah, they just jump up. So doubling your first 2 points in the first 2 games. So I want to say they went aggressive, but I think they picked up most of their eliminations in the end game. Maybe a little bit less stacked. There was less builds in the way. Alec was just able to find that purchase a little bit better.
Yeah, big deal, of course, being able to pick up the very first AFL Stream King featuring Fortnite. Really, really looking forward to seeing what Alec can do in future tournaments. Not like this one, but potentially even professional tournaments as well. And I guess there's no one better to ask but the man himself, as we do have an interview ready with Alec. Hey, mate, can you hear us?
Yo, what's up?
Awesome, dude. How are you going after winning?
Yeah, pretty good.
Did you sort of expect that? Because I don't know if you were aware, but you went into game 3 in 6th place. You were 18 points. We didn't really talk about you guys all that much, as bad as it is to say. We didn't really expect you to pick up the victory. But that 3rd game was massive, 15 points.
Yeah, I had no clue we won, to be honest. I thought we did pretty well, but I'm not sure.
Didn't think you do that well, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that makes me feel a little bit better. Alec, I'm sorry, mate. I was trying to build up these storylines of everyone. I felt like I just slept on you really badly there at the end. Obviously, you had a great performance. How'd you go playing? Obviously, you're used to playing duos. You obviously do FNCS. Didn't perform as insanely well. How'd you go today playing with the AFL player? Did it change your strategy? Did you just kind of still stick to your game and he just stuck around you? Or how'd you go?
Everyone in the
Yeah, it was
actual
pretty
chat saying it's
placement
rigged.
based. It was all about top fives. I led the rotates and he followed really well. He dropped me mats and yeah.
Nice team gameplay. Well done.
Yeah, awesome to hear. And going into the tournament, did you kind of expect it to be sort of this
He
heal
gave me
kind of meta?
tips on
Because
in-game.
in the end, actually, you ended up with, I think it was like 8 eliminations in that final game. So it seemed like you guys were actually playing a bit of a different
I can give
strategy
you
to
tips for
everyone else
in-game
who
as
was
well,
aiming
just
for
don't
those
die.
heal offs. You sort of got stuck in there and got going with the elims.
Yeah.
Were you able, so Alec as well, were you able to frag out too much in game 1 and game 2? I feel bad that we didn't track it. So do you know how many limbs you got in game 1 or game 2? Or did you go straight from just that last game you went for the big frags?
Game 1 we had no kills, I believe, and we placed top 5.
Okay.
In our second game we had 3 kills, and our last we had 8. So
Okay, so it was consistent top 5, like you said. I guess same thing, old format. You're used to it as well. You've been playing the game for a while, so yeah, just stuck for that top 5 placement points. Nice.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Alec.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All right,
mate.
Catch you later. Well, interesting, again, to get those thoughts. It seems like, for those boys at least, there was no like preconceived notion as to we need to go in, we need to play that heal battle, we need to go in, we need to find eliminations or anything like that. They just sort of go with the flow, let the meta dictate what happens, and take each game as it is.
Well, you think that, so if you get top 5 3 times, that's 7 times 3. So, you got 21 points total. So that is the strategy. That's why this threshold kind of placement points was changed towards what it is now, because
That's a good one. Yeah, it actually is.
Threshold. Didn't matter
if you don't die, you win the game.
You're
So
still getting that 7 points, which is so massive. But 8 limbs. I think Alec is underselling himself there. I've actually never seen Alec so quiet in my whole life. He played phenomenally well to pick up 8 eliminations in a Pro-Am.
Yeah, definitely, and that's huge as well. And being able to pick up the victory here, that means they get to choose where $50,000 of that $100,000 does go, 25 per charity each. We're going to go ahead and recap the standings once again. Then you get a better idea of where everybody ended up, because we did obviously touch on 1 to 10, but we need to touch on the rest as well. It's Alec and James Cousins, 33 points, picking up the victory, just ahead of Jaden and Speedy, who were on 32. Jinx and Jack Petroselli come in 3rd place with 30. So those are the top 3. Rounding out the top 4 was a tie between Serpents and Papi's squads. Kalinda Howarth and Maddie Shevlin coming in there as well. 27 points, equal 4th.
A lot of the females up there, they did very, very well. We have Fresh and Mitch Robertson just falling outside that. Obviously, we're cheering them on.
This is a link for the
Dylan,
actual channel that they were streaming it on.
Eshes and Justin. So we had a Sydney contingent up there on the board. I was cheering them on. They managed to get there. Brezzo and Tyler Brown.
I'm going to end stream, so everyone go over to that channel.
Obviously,
keep
at
watching.
the end of the leaderboard at the start of the game 1, and I thought
I'll catch
there was
you
no way
later.
they're going to stay there.